Aka Felix. In the headlines, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and ECOWAS membership in January 2025. UN climate deals criticized for slow progress and uncertain outcome. Deposed Syrian President Bashar al-Assad defends rule in first public remark since ouster. Impeached South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol resists calls by investigators. Details in a bit. Talks scheduled between the leaders of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to end conflict in the eastern DRC were called off, according to the Angolan presidency. President Joao Lourenço, the African Union mediator to end the conflict, was meeting alone with a DRC leader, Felix Tshisekedi. The Rwandan president, Paul Kagame, had been expected at the meeting, but it was not clear if he was in Angola. There had been hopes the talks would reach an agreement to end the conflict in the eastern DRC, where the Rwanda-backed M23 militia had seized swaths of territory, displacing thousands and triggering a humanitarian crisis. The Congolese presidency said that negotiations had hit deadlock over a Rwandan demand that DRC hold direct dialogue with the M23 rebels. Ghana's president-elect, John Dramani Mahama, has pledged to revamp the country's cocoa industry and reorganize the state-run regulator. Over the weekend, the president criticized the structure of the industry, saying the Cocoa Marketing Board, COCOBOD, competed with farmers for profits. The board controls all aspects of production in Ghana, the world's number 2 grower, from seedlings to jute bag supplies for packing bins for exports. Mahama said he aimed to stimulate growth and improve efficiency in the industry. Ghana's cocoa production hit its lowest level in decades last season, dragged down by climate change, tree disease, and wildcat gold mining. The military junta of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger Republic will end their membership of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in January 2025. This was announced by the regional bloc yesterday. It is part of the resolutions reached at the end of the 66th Ordinary Session of the ECOWAS Commission Authority of Heads of State and Government in Abuja. In the communiqué read by the President of the ECOWAS Commission, Omar Touré, the Commission noted that it respected the decision of the 3 countries to exit the community. It, however, announces that a transition period of 6 months between January 29 and July 29 will be given to the countries, during which the current negotiations with ECOWAS mediation team, led by the presidents of Senegal and Togo, will continue. ECOWAS noted that if during the transition period the 3 Sahel countries decide to rejoin the community, they would be readmitted. The United Nations is convening a fresh meeting of Libyan experts in an attempt to revive long-awaited national elections. The experts will be charged with developing options to overcome contentious issues in the electoral laws. The acting head of the UN mission in Libya, Stephanie Curry, said in a statement. Curry added that the terms of reference of this committee will also include developing options for a clear framework of governance with milestones and priorities for a consensually established government. In August, the Libyan parliament, which sits in Tobruk in the east, voted to end the term of the Tripoli-based government of Prime Minister Abdul Beibe. Libya is governed by 2 rival administrations based in the east and west, respectively. The deposed Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has defended his rule and denied planning his departure as armed opposition fighters closed in on Damascus earlier this month, in the first public remarks attributed to him since he left Syria. According to a statement said to be written by al-Assad and released on the Syrian presidency's Telegram channel, presented an account of how and why the former president fled Syria. The statement added that as rebel fighters, who al-Assad described as terrorist forces, entered the capital, he moved to a Russian base on the coastal city of Latakia to oversee combat operations. But according to the statement, the base came under drone attacks from armed opposition fighters. While the statement has not been independently verified, al-Assad is yet to make any media appearances since he was granted asylum with his family by Russia. Away from Africa to the rest of the world, China has vowed to push for healthy and stable ties with South Korea after Seoul's Constitutional Court launched proceedings against impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol. The South Korean parliament suspended Yoon from office over his short-lived attempt to suspend civilian rule, which plunged one of Asia's biggest economies into its worst political turmoil in years. The Constitutional Court has around 6 months to determine whether to uphold the impeachment. The two countries are major trade partners but have long been out of step politically. China's ruling Communist Party is the main economic and political backer of North Korea, with which Seoul remains technically at war. South Korea, meanwhile, is a key U.S. ally and hosts a strong American military presence, while ties between Washington and Beijing have soured. Yoon last week said in a defiant address that the main opposition party had blocked him from strengthening anti-espionage laws he said could have been used to punish Chinese nationals suspected of spying on South Korean defense and intelligence assets. Impeached South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol has resisted calls by investigators to answer questions over his failed bid to declare martial law this month. Yoon, suspended from office by parliament since Saturday, faces concurrent probes over alleged insurrection by both South Korean prosecutors and a joint team of police, defense ministry, and anti-corruption investigators. South Korea's Constitutional Court began proceedings against Yoon and has around 6 months to determine whether to uphold the impeachment. Yoon and some of his inner circle face possible life imprisonment or even the death penalty if found guilty, and he remains under a travel ban. Prosecutors issued Yoon with a second summons for questioning over insurrection and abuse of power allegations after he refused to comply with a similar request. Investigators could seek a court-issued arrest warrant should he continue to refuse. 2 Russian oil tankers with 29 crew members on board have been heavily damaged in the Black Sea, triggering an oil spill. Footage released by Russia's Southern Transport Prosecutor's Office showed one of the tankers broken in half and sinking amid a heavy storm, with streaks of oil visible in the water. At least 1 crew member was reportedly killed, and a second ship was said to be drifting after sustaining damage. The incident took place in the Kerch Strait, which separates Russia from the occupied Crimean Peninsula. President Vladimir Putin has ordered a working group to be set up to deal with the incident, headed by Deputy Prime Minister Vitaly Savliyev. Authorities are investigating for criminal negligence. Five people have died in shootings in northern France, including near a migrant camp and a 22-year-old man has turned himself in to the police. 4 people, 2 security guards, and 2 migrants were fatally shot near the camp in Lune Plague, a stretch of coastline near Dunkirk. The gunman is alleged to have also confessed to an earlier shooting in the nearby town of Wormhood. Local media said weapons were found in the suspect's car. Dunkirk's Mayor Petrus Vergerate said the motive behind the attacks remains unknown. France was rushing help by ship and military aircraft to explore overseas territory of Mayotte in the Indian Ocean after the island was shattered by its worst storm in nearly a century. Authorities in Mayotte fear hundreds and possibly thousands of people have died in Cyclone Chido, although the official death toll this morning stood at 14. Rescue teams and medical personnel have been sent to the island off the east coast of Africa from France and from the nearby French territory of Réunion, as well as tons of supplies. French television station TF1 reported that Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau had arrived in Mamoudzou, the capital of Mayotte. French authorities said more than 800 more personnel were expected to arrive in the coming days as rescuers comb through the devastation caused by Chido when it hit the densely populated archipelago of around 300,000 people. Israel will close its embassy in Dublin over the extreme anti-Israel policies of the Irish government. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said the Republic of Ireland had crossed every red line. In a statement, he said Israel's ambassador to Dublin had been recalled in the past following what it called Ireland's unilateral decision to recognize a Palestinian state. He added that the decision followed Ireland's announcement of its support for South Africa's legal action against Israel in the International Court of Justice, ICJ, accusing the country of genocide. Israeli forces have bombed another United Nations-run school in southern Gaza, killing at least 20 displaced Palestinians sheltering in the building. Palestinian officials say more than 60 people were confirmed dead as a result of Israeli attacks. Gaza's Ministry of Health said Israel's war in Gaza has killed at least 45,028 Palestinians and wounded 106,962 since October 7, 2023. This comes after Israeli forces stormed a school in Gaza's Beit Hanun, where scores of people were killed, bringing the death toll from 15 to 43. Brazilian police have arrested a former defense minister and top ally of former President Jair Bolsonaro as part of an investigation into an attempted coup to overturn the results of the South American country's 2022 election. General Walter Neto was formally accused last month, alongside Bolsonaro and 35 others, of plotting a coup to keep the former far-right president in office following his failed re-election bid. Prosecutors have yet to file formal charges against Neto, who served as Bolsonaro's chief of staff from 2020 to 2021 and as defense minister from 2021 to 2022. The federal police, in a statement, said the arrest stemmed from allegations of obstructing the collection of evidence. Neto has denied any role in the alleged conspiracy. Taiwan has received about 38 advanced M1A2 Abrams battle tanks from the United States as part of its ongoing efforts to enhance military capabilities amid increasing tensions with China. The tanks, which are the first of 108 ordered in 2019, are now stationed at an army training base in Xinshu near the capital, Taipei. This delivery marks the first new tanks to be added to Taiwan's military in 3 decades. The M1A2 Abrams were considered some of the most advanced and heavy tanks globally and will replace outdated models in Taiwan's current tank force, which include Taiwan-made CM-11 Brave Tigers and US-made M60A3s. Taiwan's reliance on US arms has grown as a means to deter potential Chinese aggression, with China maintaining its stance on reunification, potentially by force. Local authorities have confirmed that a mayor in Mexico's central San Luis Potosi state, who was a member of the ruling Morena party, was shot dead, along with 3 other people. Jesus Franco, mayor of Tankenhoods municipality, and the 3 other victims were all found dead inside a vehicle, according to the state prosecutor's office. Dozens of local officials have been targeted in organized crime-related violence that has plagued Mexico in recent years. Local media reported last month that Alejandro Arcos, a mayor in southern Guerrero state, was decapitated less than a week after taking office, and his head placed on top of a pickup truck. According to official figures, more than 450,000 people have been murdered and thousands have gone missing since the Mexican government deployed the army to combat drug trafficking in 2006. That story from Mexico concludes tonight's edition of The World Today, as produced by Odinaka Celestin of the News Department. But before we go, here's a summary of the stories that made the headline. We told you that Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger ended ECOWAS membership in January 2025. You heard the UN climate deals has been criticized for slow progress and uncertain outcome. We also told you that the post-Syrian President Bashar al-Assad defended rule in first public remark since ouster. Finally, impeached South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol resists calls by investigators. Till the same time tomorrow, to have a lovely evening and thank you for listening. Unleash the power of the airwaves with the ultimate radio experience. Tune in to Today 95.1 FM, the voice of the people. Don't just listen, immerse yourself.
That is 100% true.
Want to know what's happening? Get latest information in sports, politics, lifestyle, you name it. The frequency of choice. Today 95.1 FM. Today 95.1 FM. We serve you the latest updates on everything. Today 95.1 FM. We are the voice of the people.
What's a successful business without sales? And what is sales without an audience? Well, do you know that you can reach 8 million listeners across 6 states in 2 geopolitical zones all at once? How? With Today 95.1 FM, you can get millions of people to know about your business. And what does that mean to you? More sales. Call 081 389 2850 now for more information.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Say no to the ordinary. Embrace the extraordinary. Because we are the voice of the people. Today, 95.1 FM.
Today 95.1 FM.
BBC World Service. I'm Charles Gitonga in Nairobi with Focus on Africa. Reality begins to sink in for residents of Mayotte after Cyclone Chido made a devastating landfall over the weekend.
You can imagine any structure that wasn't really quite built to withstand even an earthquake, they wouldn't really resist the force of the winds and the rains that were pounding the area. Houses were destroyed, roofs were being blown off, and trees were being uprooted. Hospitals and homes were destroyed.
Also, a look at the painful legacy of landmines in Africa and why a campaign to end their use is welcome. We'll hear from a survivor.
Landmines should not be used. The victims they have left behind don't have the help they need. We suffer without having the proper mental health and psychosocial support we need.
And the power of politically based cartoons. That's all on the BBC Tonight in Focus. First, the news.
This is Danielle Yawowiecka with the BBC News. Hello. France has said it's mobilising resources to provide relief and security to the people of its Indian Ocean territory of Mayotte following Saturday's catastrophic cyclone. 3 government ministers are in the territory to see the destruction. Hundreds of people have fled dead. Danny Eberhard reports on the French relief efforts.
Cyclone Chido has left in its wake shattered lives and a major humanitarian crisis. France's challenge now is showing it can respond to prevent it from becoming a greater catastrophe. Politicians are stressing their resolve and solidarity, but Mayotte is 7,000 kilometres from the French mainland, so logistics are a massive problem. Réunion, a French island on the other side of Madagascar, is being used as a staging post. France is scrambling to try to boost supplies and get in more emergency workers, security personnel and engineers.
The latest footage out of Mayotte paints a clearer picture of the devastation. In the capital, Mamoudzou, street after street is filled with trees and debris, with seemingly every house damaged. A nurse at the main hospital said there was nothing left. Residents have been queuing outside stores in search of basic supplies. Richard Kurgoy reports.
Mayotte remains mostly cut off from the rest of the world. Families are desperately trying to locate missing relatives, but movement across the island is nearly impossible as roads remain blocked. Scenes of destruction are everywhere. Some victims sift through the rubble, searching for anything that can be salvaged. Emergency workers are racing against time to find survivors and restore essential services, but for the victims, the wait for help feels agonizingly long.
The de facto leader of Syria, Ahmad al-Sharaa, has said all armed factions will be dissolved under the new administration. Mr al-Sharaa told journalists that only the Syrian state army would carry weapons. Here's Lipika Pelham.
Mr Sharaa led the rebel offensive that toppled the Assad regime and now appears to be laying down the ground rules for the future of Syria. No unauthorized arms, though the nature of the new Syrian army is as yet unclear. But Mr Sharaa insisted there would be no mandatory military conscription except for certain specialist groups and then only for short periods. The semi-autonomous Kurdish administration in northeastern Syria has already called for an end to fighting and a comprehensive national dialogue with the new rulers in Damascus.
Israel's military says it's intercepted a ballistic missile launched from Yemen. Sirens sounded for the first time in weeks in Tel Aviv and across central Israel. Since the Gaza war began, the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen have fired several missiles at Israel, as well as attacking ships in the Red Sea. You're listening to the World News from the BBC. The German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is facing a confidence vote in Parliament after his coalition government collapsed last month in a row over spending. At the start of the debate, Mr Scholz said Germany was facing many challenges, including the war in Ukraine, an energy crisis and unfair competition. He said the country needed investment not only at home but also in defence and security. If the Chancellor loses the vote, Germany will hold a general election in February. The European Union has adopted another package of sanctions targeting Russia and third parties who've been helping its war effort in Ukraine. For the first time, it imposes full sanctions on Chinese actors accused of providing Russia with electronic and drone components. Kaja Kallas is the EU foreign policy chief.
The foreign ministers today will adopt 15th sanctions package. It includes also sanctioning the North Korean officials as well as the Chinese companies who are enabling this war. It sends a clear message that whoever enables this war to continue has a price to pay.
The package places tighter restrictions on the export of dual-use goods, including by some companies based in India, Iran, Serbia and the UAE. The Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has apologized for power failures caused by a shortage of fuel and says the issues should be resolved by next year. Operations have been suspended at several power plants due to the shortages, which have been intensified by rising demand due to recent freezing weather. Japan's biggest bank has apologized to customers after an employee allegedly stole more than $6 million from safe deposit boxes. MUFG said it had verified thefts from about 20 clients. Inquiries are continuing into losses allegedly incurred by 40 others. The bank's president said an employee responsible for managing the boxes and keys was suspected of stealing cash and valuables. BBC News.
Hello, I'm Charles Gitonga, and here's what's coming up for you on this edition of Focus on Africa.
It's difficult to access most of the sites across the island because literally you can't move around because the roads have been destroyed, the bridges have been washed away. So it's just a sight of desolation, especially when you listen to people who survived this disaster.
We'll be looking at the legacy landmines leave behind, that of destruction, devastation, or worse, death. One victim of a landmine is sending a strong message to world leaders in support of a campaign to end their use.
I guess the message I would put out there is those who are still adamant and refusing to sign the treaty, to try and join us and we end the devastating suffering these landmines. And yet US is not a member state, and that is unacceptable. It doesn't matter who you are, landmines should not be used.
And the political satire expressed through cartoons, are they still a powerful tool to speak truth to power? It's Monday, December 16th. First, we go to Mayotte. You would have been following this story in the news, where several hundred, possibly thousands of people are feared dead after the devastating tropical cyclone Chido tore through the French Indian Ocean territory of Mayotte over the weekend. A senior local official has warned that the death toll may continue to rise as search and recovery operations intensify in the coming days. Hundreds of rescue workers, including reinforcements from France, are combing through the debris in a desperate search for survivors. Entire shanty towns, mostly built on steep hillsides from metal sheets, attempt. These areas once housed a third of Mayotte's population, but they were no match to the fierce winds, which reached speeds of up to 225 kilometers per hour. Power lines are down, roads are impassable, and many buildings have been destroyed. Let's listen to one of the residents telling us how he, along with others that he knows, are coming to terms with the events of the weekend.
We are going through a tragedy in this island. The cyclone has destroyed everything, and I'm thinking of those who don't live here, those who can't get hold of their loved ones and their family, because in some areas we don't have any more connection. We don't have any water. We don't have any electricity. We're going back to zero. There are families that have lost everything. As we speak, there's a lot of families with no shelter. They have nothing left.
For more on what's happening in Mayotte, I've been speaking with our Africa regional editor, Richard Kagoe.
So Mayotte, it's a French overseas Indian Ocean territory. So it's found between Madagascar and Mozambique. Some are called the Mozambican Channel, and it's made up of two islands, Maore and Pamanzi. They've got two French names, but of course I'm not very fluent in French, so I can't quite pronounce that. So then I'll just go with the usual Mayotte pronunciation.
The reason really we are looking into this is because there's been this huge
cyclone. Tell us what has happened.
The cyclone, which built up just somewhere south of Madagascar towards the end of last week, ripped through Mayotte island. And what happened is that it caused so much destruction. The entire island has been flattened, especially when you're talking about neighborhoods within areas where they built, housing using semi-permanent materials. So houses have been destroyed. So they're estimating that upwards of 100,000 homes have been destroyed completely. Roads have been cut off. So we're talking about public infrastructure. So roads, water infrastructure, the country's airport as well. The main tower was also equally destroyed. Communications lines have been cut off. At the moment, the authorities there say that probably upwards of 1,000 would be the numbers of fatalities, because they're saying at the moment it's so difficult actually to establish a precise figure, because it's difficult to access most of the sites across the island, because literally you can't move around because the roads have been destroyed, the bridges have been washed away. So it's just a sight of desolation, especially when you listen to people who survived this disaster.
Is that area, that part of the world, prone to these kind of events? Cyclones?
Yeah, precisely. That's been happening over the past 30 years. This particular region has been suffering or experiencing cyclones. The intensity varies, but I guess for Mayotte this time around, this has been the most intense in the past, shall I say, maybe 100 years. Yeah, because if you looked at the intensity, the winds are moving with gusts of up to 226 kilometers per hour. So you can imagine any structure that wasn't really quite built to withstand even an earthquake, that wouldn't really resist the force of the winds and the rains that were pounding the area. If you speak to most weather experts, they'll tell you this is partly caused by warming of the oceans. So as rising sea temperatures, then that becomes sort of like an ingredient that is critical to create intense storms. And that's really been happening towards the southern bits of the Indian Ocean over the past 30 years.
Did they see this coming? Did the authorities give any warnings before?
Yes, there were weather advisories that were issued. But you see, then again, Charles, Mayotte is not a very developed country. In fact, it's ranked as the poorest of France's, overseas territory. So the people there are very poor. And the resources that you would require actually to organize and to mitigate what would be potentially a devastating natural calamity. It's something that's negligible, you would say, because there isn't so much that actually they would do, just apart from the cautions that they had issued. But they managed to do because the country sort of like went into a lockdown. And so that helped, especially in reducing what would be the numbers of human fatalities. So that's the much that they could do. But I don't think people really quite anticipated the scale of the impact of this cyclone.
Are there areas that have been severely affected by this as well?
Yes, so the bits of Madagascar, the northern bits of Madagascar, it was not adverse, and so was southern Comoros. But as the cyclone moved westwards towards Mozambique, when it made landfall on Monday, well, of course, the National Institute of Meteorology in Mozambique had issued an advisory. So a lot of people organized themselves. And you'd remember, Charles, this is the area where also Cyclone Idai made landfall. And so people quite remember what really happened to them about 5 years ago. But as it was coming to the Mozambique Channel across landing into Cabo Delgado province and Nampula to the north, it sort of like lost its intensity, but had strong winds, came with heavy rains. And what I would see as early as Sunday morning is that houses were destroyed in Pemba, the coastal city. Roofs were being blown off and power poles were destroyed, trees are being uprooted. And what UNICEF, the UN Children's Agency, is saying is that hospitals and homes were destroyed by the force of the cyclone as it moved further inland. So what we have seen so far is that the cyclone has moved towards southeast of Malawi, just not so far from the city of Blantyre, and people were really organizing themselves, reinforcing their roofs and in anticipation of the storm just arriving in their area.
So in Mayotte, what's happening now? Is there any help on the way, humanitarian assistance?
Yes, there's been a lot of mobilization, especially from France. As we speak, the French Interior Minister and 2 other ministers have arrived at Mayotte to assess the damage and also to coordinate the relief effort and rescue and clearing operations. As at Sunday, the first military aircraft arrived at the island, carrying 3 tons of medical supplies, blood for transfusion, and 17 medical staff. 110 French soldiers had been deployed ahead of the cyclone hitting Mayotte. And over the coming week, in total, they'll have about 800 of them. Emergency rescue workers, what they're doing right now is just quickly trying to reestablish basic services like communication lines, reconnecting electricity, sending generators, and other equipment just to assist with that.
Richard Gagoe speaking. Landmines are a silent yet deadly legacy of conflict, continuing to claim lives and destroy livelihoods across Africa. Decades after wars have ended, these hidden killers still prevent communities from rebuilding, farming, and living safely. Recently, global leaders like the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, and Pope Francis, the head of the Catholic Church, have called for an end to the production and use of landmines, a decision that could bring significant change to African nations still grappling with their devastating effects. Perhaps we can understand how big of a deal this is by looking at some data from the United States government. In Angola, an estimated 9 to 20 million landmines were laid during its 20-year civil war that ended in 2002. Sudan, Mozambique, Somalia and Chad are some of the other countries affected by landmines, and efforts to remove these devices remain hampered by continued conflict or instability. Catherine Atkins is a senior researcher at the Landmine and Cluster Munition Monitor. She's been mapping up the scale of the problem for us.
So the list of countries on the African continent which are known or suspected to have mine contamination as per today include Ethiopia, with more than 100 square kilometers of landmine contamination. It includes Angola, Chad, Eritrea, Mauritania, and also South Sudan, Zimbabwe, Guinea-Bissau, Niger, Senegal, and Somalia, and Nigeria. So you can see the list is quite long, and maybe one more point I'd like to add here is that unfortunately what we have seen in recent years is a more extensive use of improvised mines by non-state armed groups. So improvised mines are improvised explosive devices which are victim activated, mostly functioning through a pressure plate. And such devices have been placed predominantly in Nigeria, but lately also much more in Burkina Faso, Mali, Togo, Central African Republic. So unfortunately, we see an increase of these items, which is quite worrying.
And the list that you mentioned is, quite substantial. What challenges do these countries face in removing these mines, and has there been any progress made so far?
I have to say there has been made a huge progress, and it's a testament to African countries really, because most of the African countries are state parties to the Mine Ban Treaty, which is the convention against the use of anti-personnel mines. And they really try to fulfill their obligations, which includes to destroy all the stockpiles of mines they have, obviously not to use any new mines, not to transfer, not to sell mines, and also to clear all contaminated areas known. And that's where we come to the challenge. So that there has been a lot of progress in Africa, and probably the champion state is Mozambique, who finished the clearance of mine-contaminated areas quite some time ago, although it's now facing a new threat through improvised mines. But many other African countries, they struggle to finish the clearance of these mined areas. And the challenge there is, I have to mention several reasons. So one reason, as an example in Chad, is that there is limited access due to security issues. I can really say another common challenge for all African countries is the funding to get this work done. They do have some national contributions of the national budget to get this clearance done, but it's not going to happen without international funding. And although the overall amount of funding for mine action has increased over the last few years, it's very much focused and delivered to just a few countries, including Ukraine, which has become very high up on the agenda of many donor states, and African countries just do not get enough funding to get the job done. So these are the main challenges, really.
Catherine Atkins, Senior Researcher at the Landmine and Cluster Munition Monitor. Let's now hear from Dr. Alex Mnyambazi, who survived a landmine explosion that profoundly changed his life and now leads an organization dedicated to supporting survivors of landmine incidents.
I lost my leg when I was 22 years old to a landmine. Now that I've kind of healed, I know how hard it was for me to recover. Before that, I was a young man, a footballer, and when it happened, everything turned upside down, so to say. I was devastated. I was angry at everyone. I was asking myself a lot of questions. Why me? I suffered from PTSD 4 years. This happened in 2005. The physical wounds had healed, but I was still suffering from the devastation that is caused by landmines. And of course, my life was altered, the course of how I was supposed to live my life, I guess. I had to find ways of focusing my energy and looking for a way to live life after the landmine accident.
We are very happy you are here with us, Dr. Alex. So there has been, an initiative to ban landmines, as I'm sure you know, and it's a global initiative. Is there a specific message you'd like global leaders to hear regarding these very damaging devices?
I guess the message I would put out there is to call upon the non-member states of the treaty, those who are still adamant and refusing to sign the treaty, to try and join us, and we end the devastating suffering of these landmines. And also maybe a special message that I tend to be radical about this. We all know that the USA is transferring landmines to a state party member, to Ukraine, and yet US is not a member state, and that is unacceptable. It should not be happening. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. There shouldn't be any excuses. There shouldn't be any exceptions. Landmines should not be used. Not at this time. The victims they have left behind don't have the help they need. We suffer without having the proper mental health and psychosocial support we need. And then seeing that there are new member states that are trying to transfer and are still manufacturing is really sad, and I wouldn't want to see it happening.
Dr. Alex Mnyambazi from the Amputee Self-Help Network, Uganda. Now, if you live in Kenya or even follow Kenyan politics on social media, you would have seen silhouette images of President William Ruto and senior members of his government drawn by cartoonists here in Nairobi. The images are often accompanied by satirical messages that show alleged failings of his government. It's not the first time that this has happened in the country, though. Cartooning has been a popular way to bring news and commentary to a wide audience, not just in Kenya, but also elsewhere in Africa for many years. We wanted to speak to two veteran cartoonists to look back a bit on the experience and look forward to what their field is like today. I called up Jonathan Shapiro from South Africa, known as Zapiro, and Paul Kelemba, known as Mado, from Kenya. Jonathan first.
I would love to say my work was most valued now, but I think in a way there have been sort of two periods where it was valued in different ways. The one was during the struggle, when there were not many people who were able to do cartoons and comics for the kinds of publications that I was doing. And in fact, there were black cartoonists in particular who were not being given any opportunity. So for me, as what I regarded, doing progressive work that was in support of the struggle, I think my work was very valued in that period, 1983 to 1990. And then in 1994, when I started doing cartoons that were in the biggest, at that stage, mainly a black newspaper, the Sowetan, which then became, a little bit more widely read by other people as well. But certainly then, I was in 3 very different kinds of newspapers. So by 1998, I was in the biggest weekly, the Sunday Times. I was in the biggest daily, the Sowetan, and I was in a very, very sort of high-end newspaper called the Mail and Guardian. So for about 10 years, I had a fantastic spread across so many different kinds of readerships at a time when newspapers were still at their peak, and my cartoons really did seem to make an enormous impact, including getting to the point where they irritated the person who was about to become president and then became president, to the point where he sued me in 2 massive lawsuits.
Okay. So, Mado, what do you think of what Zapiro just said? And would you say it's the same for you?
Yes, in fact, I think since we started doing this stuff just around the same time, from the early 1980s, the best years that I look back at is between 1986 and 1992. There's a clamor for multi-party democracy in Kenya, and people are being detained and all that, and we could actually slip into our cartoons some subtle kind of messages, to get around even your editor and the intelligence services at the time. And I and a couple of other cartoonists, we want many, kind of became celebrities, Obviously, there was no social media, and we had a way of getting around, to get past editors and intelligence services. This went on until 1992 in Kenya, when some kind of relative freedoms crept in with the first multi-party elections. But early that year, I became the first Kenyan cartoonist to caricature the then president, that's Daniel Arap Moi. And it wasn't even in the newspapers, because the newspaper editors were a bit too scared, and I wouldn't really blame them that much. It was crazy. They were ultimately responsible for any publication. So it was done in an independent weekly magazine called Society. It actually took Kenyans by surprise. There was the president has been caricatured at last, which is so different from today, because if you carry on making fun of the president, it actually becomes very boring. You really have to have some kind of substance in whatever you're saying. So those were really my best years.
Right. So, Zapiro, who was that president that wanted to sue you, actually?
So the president who wanted to sue me, he wasn't president yet, but he carried it through into his presidency. It was Jacob Zuma. I mean, the ANC was becoming, I'm afraid, more and more corrupt because of being tainted by things like a huge arms deal. Whenever there are arms deals, there's corruption anywhere in the world, so it's not unusual. But unfortunately, the ANC, which started out wonderfully in 1994 through Mandela's presidency, instituting parliament, the new order in parliament and new laws and the new constitution, an excellent constitution, all of that. Those things, they were working, but they could be perverted, and that's what tended to happen. So by 1999, Jacob Zuma was already bound up in corruption to do with the arms deal. But long before he even became ANC president, I started doing cartoons about, really critical cartoons about him as early as 2002. He only became ANC president in 2007, by which time he regarded me as an enemy. In 2006, he sued me for 15 million rand, which was the equivalent of about $2 million, which was apparently a world record. No cartoonist had ever been sued or has ever been sued for more than $1 million.
Thank you to Jonathan Shapiro from South Africa and Paul Kelemba from Kenya. Just to add to Jonathan's comments there, that the former South African president, Jacob Zuma, is charged with multiple counts of corruption, as well as racketeering, fraud, tax evasion and money laundering. He goes on trial next April and has denied allegations of corruption against him. The former president was acquitted of rape back in 2006. Focus on Africa was produced by Bella Hassan, Stefano Kereke and Yvette Twagira Maria in London. Connie Sharp was the senior journalist in charge and Philip Bull was the technical producer. Our editors are Andre Lombard and Alice Mudengi. I'm Charles Gitonga, who'll speak again next time.
Talk radio. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
95.1 FM.
Exclusive from MikeBase.com.
This is too sweet to be real, baby. I don't wanna wake up, oh yeah. You give me life, you give me vibe, oh. You be my energy, I can't deny you. My kind of girl when they give me joy, oh. What is love if you know they, oh? Body, come to tomoto, no kipoko. Magadi, moka, choroko. She call me daddy, nakapachoto. I only want. What is love without you, babe? What is love without you, babe? What is love without you, babe? What is love without you, baby? If this is a dream, baby, I don't wanna wake up, oh yeah. This is too sweet to be real, baby. I don't wanna wake up, oh yeah. You give me life, you give me vibe, oh. You be my energy, I can't deny you. My kind of girl when they give me joy, oh. What is love if you know they, oh? Body, come to tomoto, no kipoko. Magadi, moka, choroko. She call me daddy, nakapachoto. I only want. What is love without you, babe? What is love without you, babe? What is love without you, babe? What is love without you, baby? Yeah.
It's easy, yeah?
Paparazzi taking photo in the midnight. So she caught me with a body doing. So I put her under pressure. Now she facing all the trouble. You can put the blame on me. Oh yeah.
I love you not anymore. You push my back to the wall. I see it's embarrassed. Chances I'm snap. Open good. You did. I love you not anymore. You push my back to the wall. I see it's embarrassed. Chances I'm snap. Open good. You did.
I know that yeah, that's so wrong. I put a color on my canvas to be in the song. Look me in my eyes, you know I love you more. I love you more. That's my apology before you say that you don't say. I don't put her in a coma, it's assassin. She give me red and yellow, me some my green. I try to play all she when you remind me. You remind me of a pain that I'm feeling. Life without you know there's no meaning. There's no healing, there's no meaning. And I know I've got it, your feelings, they shamo.
I love you not anymore. You push my back to the wall. I see it's embarrassed. Chances I'm snap. Broken good. You did. I love you not anymore. You push my back to the wall. I see it's embarrassed. Chances I'm snap. Broken good.
It's Lovey Dovey, guys. That song by Peter Bits, Not Anymore. I've told him already it's my favorite song from his Just Released EP. You know what an EP is, right? I've been told it's extended playlist. Before now, I didn't really care so much. I just go ahead and enjoy beautiful songs. I mean, that's it. But when my guys, drop the amazing songs they drop, they have to come through for them. All that love, all that emotion. and of course the support which is necessary as often as possible. So there you have it. Anyway, it's lovely, beautiful people. It's a new week, and I'm excited for all the things that we have for you this week, the things that we'll be doing, the conversations we will be having. All of that is necessary, as you already know. So sometime last week, I think that was the day we talked about orgasm and stuff. And then somebody said, oh, look, she raised a concern for women who were mutilated. And that is a problem. That's actually a thing, because I did this research where I actually discovered that Nigeria, I think Nigeria has a population of about 19.9 million women, and or so or more, because we are over 200 million now. So this population thing was, I think, a couple of years ago. Now women choke. Plus there's the whole, there are more women in Nigeria than there are men, so find husband or no find husband, and all those plenty things that the society likes to shove down the throats of women. Wahala. But anyway, women, please know what you are marrying. Don't let them pressure you into marrying the weapon fashioned against you. Okay? Anyway, beautiful people, it's Lovey Dovey, and tonight we're looking at FGM. We're looking at a lot of things about it. I have the Lovey Dovey medics in the building, and them day for me, them day for you. They're going to be explaining everything you need to know. Okay? And a lot of women who were mutilated do not enjoy sex. As a matter of fact, they don't like it. I mean, the stories I've read so far from some women, they don't like it. A lot of them do not, they don't feel anything, not the whole sexual pleasure. In fact, we're talking about orgasm, and it's like we're speaking French for these women, because they cannot relate, right? So tonight we'll talk about all of that and more, and we'll also look at whether or not there is any form of remedy for these women. Yeah, you guys know that I love you, right? So women who have experienced this, sit pretty, tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, we'll begin in a couple of minutes. So if your friend is not listening to Lovey Dovey right now, make sure you rush, tell them to tune in 95.1 so they can understand. We're all about the information, we're all about the entertainment, of course. Okay, we're all about the education. Beautiful people, it's Lovey Dovey, it's Monday, it's a new week, new energy, and beautiful things are coming to you and I.
There's no meaning, there's no healing, there's no meaning. And I know I've got with your feelings, the shaman.
I love you nothing more. You push my back to the wall. I see you with some rabbits, James is some snap. Open good, you dig.
beautiful people. Lovey-dovey tonight. You are welcome. And I did say that I have the lovey-dovey medics. I like to call them that because, look, they are cute people, beautiful people. Yeah, so I like to introduce them as the lovey-dovey medics. And, I gave one a nickname. He's already giving me eyes because he knows his nickname. Bad boy tags in the building. And yes, he's wearing his, black earrings, looking all bad boyish for us. Hello, bad boy tags.
Hi, Amaka. How you doing?
It's a voice from you. Do you know that it's possible you're turning some women on with that voice? There are women who have a thing for that whole... Is this bass? Or that whole baritone thing going on?
Well, you have to use what you have to get what you
and
want.
What do you want? What do you want? Is this from Ella? Ella, how are you doing?
I feel like it would only turn them on because they don't know him.
Oh,
yeah.
I think my Port Harcourt men do really know me.
They know what, but you're not saying that it's turning on the men, like it's the women.
Well,
we are being specific, Tega. Women only, please.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And then the gentle rascal.
Yeah.
The Nelson.
Good evening.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good evening, D. Amaka Felix.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here again.
I know.
It's always a privilege to get to see your beautiful face. So
oh my God.
I'm honored.
Nelson has a way of making me blush.
Oh, come on.
I'm shy. Look at me. I'm all pink.
Once again, we leave the studio for you guys.
And then there's a senior. He was like Oga at the top.
The boss.
Like, honestly, he has been giving he's giving big man energy. What I want to do is to drop my account number will be in your DMs. Because all these big man that you are giving, okay, my account number will be in your DM.
Noted.
Yes. You're welcome, Mr. Alpha. Good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Amaka. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. I cannot wait for y'all to unleash your knowledge on us. The world needs to hear this.
I don't have any knowledge to give. I'm just here to enjoy what others have to say.
This person? And that is Bad Boy Tex, and he has a way of, doing his thing. Anyway, so tonight the conversation is on female genital mutilation. Okay, so I'm just going to do a walkthrough for you. I will run you guys by the things that you're supposed to know. Okay, and then the lovey-dovey medics will take it from there. All right, beautiful people. So tonight on Lovey Dovey, reclaiming intimacy, finding pleasure after FGM. That is female genital mutilation. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. So women, sit pretty, sit on the table. Men, listen for your sisters, your girlfriends, your wives. Maybe you're wondering why your wife is uninterested in sex. Maybe you're wondering why your girlfriend is uninterested in sex. Because sometimes, some of you have told me that on Lovey Dovey here, that your girlfriend doesn't like sex. And while there could be a lot of reasons, FGM is part of the reasons. I think I've, mentioned FGM in addition to sometimes maybe hygiene, because some people don't have good hygiene and it's going to be difficult for their partners to want to, have sex with them and stuff. It's a whole lot, yeah. But tonight we'll focus on FGM, okay? So I have my people in the studio and who explore the entirety of FGM and stuff. And now, what I'm interested in the most is finding out whether or not sexual pleasure is still possible for FGM women at the end of the day. So let's get started, beautiful people. We're beginning with Okay, so Mr. Alford, are you ready to talk to us? Let's go.
Okay. Talking about FGM and pleasure after FGM. FGM is a very sensitive topic that most women, and in short, most men, they don't like to talk about it. You'll be surprised to know that a lot of men don't even know if the woman have undergone FGM because they can't tell the difference. If the thing is, if you've not been with a woman that has not undergone FGM, you can't really tell that a woman have undergone FGM when you be with that woman. What I'm trying to say is, when you be with a woman that her clitoris, am I allowed to say that?
Of course.
Okay. When you be with a woman that her clitoris is intact, and after that you meet another woman that has undergone FGM, you will know the difference. That is only when you will know the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for men, it's like driving a brand new car on the highway.
With
You know?
FGM women?
No. Having sex is like driving a brand new car.
Okay.
You always enjoy driving a brand new car.
Yes.
Understand? But for women, it's not the same. It's different, entirely different. And the only thing that gives them that pleasure is the clitoris.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that's the thing that they take off during FGM. That's the thing to take off. So my colleague will talk about the types of FGM. So the question that she asked, if it is possible for women to have pleasure, it is rare. It is almost impossible for any woman that has undergone any type of FGM to have pleasure during sexual intercourse. So although there are some things that can be done which might bring back those pleasure, but not 100%.
Yes.
When you compare to those women that are intact.
So basically, can we get a definition of what FGM is?
Okay. If listeners can remember the last conversation we had, the last time we were on air, we talked about. I remember Jonathan talking about the female genitalia and what it comprises of. You know, first of all, if I go into definition, I would like to state categorically certain facts. And one of those facts is that in the world today, there are about 230 million girls and women alive that have undergone FGM in Africa, Middle East, and Asia. These are the places where FGM is practiced predominantly. FGM is mostly carried out on young girls between infancy being from childhood when they're born and all the way to age 15. FGM is also a violation of the human rights of a girl or women. So it's something we kick against, something we say should be banned, you understand? So I just want to give these facts out and then go on to say FGM by definition, it's comprised of every procedure that involves, you know, partial or total removal of the external female genitalia. The external female genitalia is made up of, first of all, we'll start from as Jonathan described last time, you'll see the mons pubis, you see the clitoris, the labia majora, labia minora, then before you go on to the vaginal opening. So all of these parts make up the external female genitalia. So FGM essentially means the removal, either partial or total removal of any of all these parts I've mentioned that causes injury to the female genital organs for non-medical reasons. Because more times than none, it is not for a medical reason. FGM is not the practice that's done because it's going to save a woman's life or not. It's something that is done for more predominantly cultural reasons rather than any other cultural and religious reasons.
A woman's sexual appetite.
Yeah, cultural and religious reasons.
There are various reasons.
Yeah, there are various reasons. We'll talk about those. The practice has no health benefits for girls
at all
and women, and it can cause severe bleeding and problems urinating, and even later cysts, infections, as well as complications in childbirth. And as we are going to talk about, the reduced sexual libido or appetite as well. Now there are 4 types of FGM essentially, and I keep saying FGM. Maybe let me go on to say the full thing. Female genital mutilation. As I said, it's the either partial or every procedure that involves partial or total removal of the external female genitalia or that causes injury to the female genitalia. When you say female genitalia, it's the female reproductive organ. Let me say that the external part, there's the internal part that involves the uterus, the cervix. That part, we're not focused on that. It's the external part where the clitoris, the labia majora, labia minora, the vaginal opening, these are the major parts we'll be talking about. Now, type 1, also known as clitoridectomy. When you hear dectomy, usually it's like cut off, removal. So when you say clitoridectomy, it's the removal of the clitoris. It's either the partial again or total removal of the clitoral glands. The clitoral glands is the most sensitive part of the female genital. So when they remove this part, either by excision, by cutting it out, that's the type 1. They cut out the clitoris, they cut out what we call the clitoral hood, the head of the top of the clitoris, and all the way down to the root, the prepuce and all of that. Then there is a type 2. This is partial or total removal of the clitoral glands and the labia minora, as I mentioned. So I said clitoris, the first one is clitoridectomy. It's focused on just the removal of the clitoris itself. Whereas the type 2 now, they remove both the clitoral glands, they remove the labia minora, and they may remove the labia majora in type 2. Type 3, also known as infibulation. Now, this is from type 3 and type 4, we're getting to the more severe forms. The 1 and 2, yes, these are crimes against women. This is violation of the human right. But type 3 and 4, they're like severe forms. Because in type 3, what happens is the vaginal opening, as it were, is narrowed. It's like, if it's this wide, type 3 now tries to reduce that. They stitch it up in such a way that it's reduced. They narrow the vaginal opening through the creation of a covering seal. Like, they stitch it up and close it, essentially. They do this seal by cutting and repositioning the labia minora. The labia minora is supposed to be open. But what they do, they stitch it and close it like clothes. Where you're closing your sewing, people who know how to sew, you stitch the labia minora or the labia majora together, essentially cutting off or reducing the opening of the vagina. Sometimes through stitching, and they could do this by stitching, including the clitoris. They could add all of them together, the clitoris, the labia majora, the labia minora, all together, and seal it up, and just leave little hole, maybe just a little hole for menstrual blood. There's type 4, and this one includes all other harmful procedures to the female genital for non-medical purposes. FGM is not just the one they do culturally. There are other things people do. There's pricking, there's piercing, there's incising, there's scrapping, and there's cauterizing of the genital area. What does that mean? They get hot iron, put it in fire, and then so people do this. It's harmful practice, but people do this.
They call it hideous act.
Hideous, in fact, that's what it is.
Yeah.
As I said before, FGM, female genital mutilation, has no health benefit. It only causes harm. There is no health benefit at all. FGM has no health benefit, and it harms girls and women in many ways, because it involves removing and damaging healthy and normal female genitalia, and it interferes with natural function of the girl or the woman's body. Although all other forms of FGM are associated with increased risk of health complications, the risk is greater with more severe forms. And I mentioned that the type 3 and the type 4 are usually the ones seen as the more severe. So certain complications that people who have undergone FGM can begin to experience are, for example, severe pain. They could experience excessive bleeding either during or after the excision has been done, when after the act has been done. There is fever for those who eventually come down with infections. Yes, there are certain infections that they could get. Tetanus is prime, is one of them, and it's up there because most times those equipments are used to carry out the action or the procedure are not sterilized. It's one ancient mama that is doing this thing. It's telling you, now so my mama do me, so I go do you. The highest thing, they carry gin and go pour it, and then they use this. It could be razor blade. I think from an experience, somebody narrated to me, they use razor blade. So you can imagine razor blade they have used for like 5 different people. They use it for you as well. So you can imagine it's easy to transfer infections and diseases that way. They also tend to come down with urinary problems. Imagine where, I want people to be, their imagination should be sharp now. Imagine where the clitoris is brought down. The labia majora is brought down. This one is brought, and they stitch these things together. Imagine how this lady will open the urethra. The opening of the urethra will barely have space to even let out urine. So they will have issues with. They'll have urinary problems as well. They also have problem with wound healing as well. For some of them who. That part is a very sensitive part.
Yes.
So when you cut, I think Tega mentioned it has, I think the most number of nerve endings. So imagine cutting and inflicting that kind of pain. It will take a long while before healing will happen. Some people will bleed and eventually have shock or die because the bleeding,
especially if it's done when they're babies.
Yes. So if you bleed so much, you come down with what we call hemorrhagic shock, and then it could lead to death. Then there are long-term complications. I've mentioned urinary problems. You see them experiencing painful urination. Sometimes they do that stitching, and they could even stitch out the urethra opening. They could do that because there's really
the
no
urethra opening is almost at the top.
Yes,
of the
they could actually stitch that because
Yeah.
there's no medical expertise that goes into this. They don't understand the anatomy of the human body when doing this. It's just my mother did me, so I would do it. So I'm skilled. I've done 10 people before you. So there's really nothing. There's vaginal problems that could evolve from this. There's menstrual problems. See difficulty in passing menstrual. Like I said, sometimes they seal up the vaginal opening and it's just left a small hole. And for people who maybe for some reason they have heavy cycles, how do you expect all of this blood to go through that small hole that is left? It's a lot. Then there are the scar tissue, the keloids. You see people having keloids in their female genitalia, and keloids are scar tissues. Like, I think I have one on my hand. Let me see if I can show you what it means like.
Some persons have keloids.
So something like this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's what it could look like, or more. It could look like that on certain people. Then there are sexual problems, pain during intercourse, decreased satisfaction. I think this is the area we are pretty focused on today, but I feel like we should just do a lot of the education as well. There's increased risk of childbirth complications because, again, as I said, the vagina where the child is supposed to come out from at the end of the day has been reduced, has been narrowed. The opening has been narrowed. So how do you expect something was naturally made to be able to expand? Then
and do you know a funny fact? For some women that they undergo FGM, but should I say some or most? Let me use some.
Yeah.
For some women that they undergo FGM during childbirth, they still have to give them episiotomy.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
They still have to give them episiotomy to open up the vagina.
Is
to
it
allow,
fully dilated, right?
Yeah. After fully dilation, they still have to cut it. To allow the passage of the baby. Now, imagine someone that her own has been reduced, from the normal size, to a much smaller size. So you will undergo a lot of tearing and all those.
Yeah.
And I know some men will be asking themselves like, what is FGM? What are we even talking about? Okay. Now, for the men that are listening to us, use your imagination to imagine the tip of your penis.
Yeah.
As sensitive as the tip of the penis is, that's how sensitive the clitoris is. So how sensitive
is
it can be
easy, right?
when something touches it. Imagine it like that.
They use needle and thread.
Then you understand what you are trying to say.
I'm feeling the pain.
That's what it is. In certain cases, like the type 3 safe, after they have sealed it up or narrowed the opening, I don't want to jump the gun and go into why certain people do this, but when the lady is ready for marriage or sexual encounter, how they cut it back open again?
Yeah.
And this is you cut, you seal, you open. These things are like, it's a human being. That's where the mutilation comes in, because you're mutilating the female genitalia and that you're destroying it practically.
Lab rats.
And most times these women who have gone through this come down with psychological problem. You see them, they have something we can refer sometimes as body dysmorphia. They don't feel good about themselves. There's low self-esteem that's certain.
Because they know, they don't feel what they think other women feel.
Yeah, they feel broken. They feel like I'm not complete.
Yeah.
I'm missing something. If they're in a place where their peers are talking about, oh my God, you know how ladies can get when they're with themselves, talking about,
when they're
this guy,
excited about a sexual encounter.
She either is forced to make up a story or can't relate. She stays quiet
and just smile and look at them. Wishfully, Delulu.
And do you know that in Nigeria, FGM, the most populated region is in southeast.
Yes.
Southeast, followed by the southwest. Then the least populated region where they carry out FGM is in the north.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not,
and it's shocking.
It's shocking, no, because you thought it was the north.
Yeah,
That's
if
the
you did not mention it, I would have said the north.
is the southeast.
The stat is
that
shocking.
do it the most.
Because you would assume that people who, by statistics, have the huge number of uneducated people will be the ones practicing this. But no, it's we who have more literates.
That's what brings us to one of the reasons why they do it, cultural norms. So most society in the north is not their culture.
Yes.
So FGM, the culture of FGM is mostly practiced in the southeast of Nigeria.
And their intent is to curb the girls.
Promiscuity.
Yes, the girls'
they
sexual
tell you,
desire. So
yes.
they do not want her to be promiscuous, and that's what they're trying to kill. But then they don't think about the long-term effects of FGM.
In certain cultures, FGM is even considered a necessary part of being a girl, like growing into girlhood. It's a passage, right? You know, how they prepare you for adulthood and marriage. You know,
but the fun fact is that most of the main religions actually don't see the criteria for FGM.
Yes.
It's just more of a cultural thing. But when you say religiously, most of like the famous religions have nothing to do with FGM.
Are you talking about
I feel like
Christian and Muslim?
Christian, Muslim.
They say nothing about FGM.
They say nothing about FGM.
It's more cultural.
It's more cultural.
And religious.
But I feel like we'll table down more when we talk about myths concerning FGM, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So as I was going on, they see this as a passage, right? They see it as a means to control her sexuality. One, to prevent premarital, infidelity, marital infidelity, and then premarital sex. That's the idea.
That's the idea.
Behind it. But they do not pay mind to how gruesome that act is. And that's why I say I am surprised, but I was surprised by the stats when I found out that it's even more predominant in where we think we have educated people than where there are more of the illiterates.
But funny enough, I have seen a woman that they did FGM on, and I think she kind of likes sex more than an average woman that didn't have FGM.
That's like 1 in a million now.
Maybe.
And another question is, what type of FGM was done on this woman?
It was the clitoridectomy.
Okay.
That's type 1.
So what's her sex life like? What's her her average sex drive?
Her average sex drive. It's not like she's promiscuous though. But she's insatiable.
She's like a nymphomaniac.
Yeah.
But that's another downside to FGM. It can cause that sometimes.
So the same thing they think they're trying to avoid could happen in the long run.
Yes.
I've heard.
But then that's a rare case.
Yeah, I don't have a scientific backup for that. But I've seen, aside his own story, I think I've had similar experience. And then again, the way the female body is, it's not just the clitoris that's the excitable. Yes, that's the major, but then there are other erogenous zones, and so if maybe she has a partner or she's able to activate feeling that way from the other erogenous zone, of course she will feel that way. She also gets to that point.
Oh, okay.
Which brings us to the women that have undergone FGM. Can they still have
sexual
pleasure? How can they have sexual pleasure? That's what we'll talk about next.
Yes.
Tega.
This was the way all of that just away from me. This is my specialty.
Sexual pleasure.
All I know, I've always said, all I know is just from
education. I don't practice all of this.
Oh,
but either ways.
Oh, please.
Why don't you trust me?
I do. I actually do.
So we'll now be discussing about, pathways to healing and reclaiming intimacy, just like the title of today's topic. So the first thing which I've always championed on this show, even last week, is about self-awareness, understanding your body. So even you, as a lady that has been a victim of female genital mutilation, you shouldn't see yourself that you've been deprived ultimately of what? Gaining pleasure through sexual intercourse. Go through yourself, touch yourself. Touch yourself so that you know what gives you pleasure.
They should do that.
Yes.
It's called erotic mapping.
So
you discover other erogenous zones around your body. It could be your ear, it could be your neck, it could be your breast, it could be your inner thighs. It could even be non-physical triggers like romantic gesture, emotional connection. You need to explore to identify sensations that feel pleasurable. If you do not, the job will be a difficult journey. Find your way out of that hole that FGM is. You understand? If you want to enjoy sex.
So in continuation of what he said, many women really need to, have a more thorough understanding of their bodies, and many women who have undergone FGM lack accurate knowledge about their bodies due to cultural taboos surrounding sexuality, which is another problem that we have in our society.
Yes.
Even though there's an increase in the rates of immorality, we still have this false sense of morality.
It's almost like the more they try to curb it,
the more it
becomes.
Thank you very much. So there's need for comprehensive sexual education, which is actually what we are trying to do using programs like this. And now you might not be able to get pleasure, just like what he said, looking for other areas. You might not be able to get pleasure probably due to the partial or complete removal of the clitoris. Now we talked about various spots last week, right? When you touch yourself, looking for the G spots and the A spots, do you find pleasure when you try to stimulate those areas? I remember last week when we were talking about orgasms, we said orgasm is not just limited to just clitoral orgasms alone. You have clitoral orgasm is actually the most potent, most effective. Fine. You also remember we talked about vaginal orgasms that occur due to stimulation of the G spots and the A spots, right? Before when I talked about nipple orgasms. So you as a lady, for the fact that you may have been a victim, because I call them victims, or survivors of FGM, it does not mean you cannot find pleasure in sex. So all you have to do is try to study yourself, understand what works for you. Because if you do not understand what works for you, you'll not be able to let your partner or partners know how best to handle you. Because there's something I always say, the best way for you to actually enjoy sex is when both you and your partner understand yourselves. So that one person will not be doing one thing, another person will be doing another thing, and this person is expecting to be handled this way. And the person is handling you the best way they think, instead of how best you. It's just like when we're talking about love languages. It's just the same way we're talking about love languages. You should be able to handle them sexually in the way they want
to be
handled. Else
you're doing
so if you are just doing exercise, range of motion exercise, that's just what you guys are doing. So that's all I would have to
Wait,
drop
when
in
you
for
say
now.
touch yourself, does that apply to virgins as well?
Yes, it's
so
not just
how
limited
can a
to
virgin touch herself to the point of knowing what works for her? That's the ish. Because I'm thinking in that direction. I'm thinking in that direction. If a woman is a virgin, how does she touch herself to the point where, because she's not trying to deflower herself by herself. So how does a virgin now touch herself?
What is virginity?
Exactly. I was about to say that.
I would like to define that first.
Okay, so let's understand that. I thought, okay, I don't know if it's real or not.
Does a virgin have any business of having
That's
pleasure?
the thing. It depends on your definition of who or what a virgin is. Like, by definition, being a virgin is basically not having sexual intercourse, and it's not particular. And it's not particular to any gender, by the way.
Yes, of course.
But I think me and Nelson were having this conversation one day. Medically, you cannot even prove when a man is a virgin. So technically, it is particular to the women.
To the women, yes.
That's why we talk about breaking of hymen.
Yes.
This, that. Biblically, and some religions say you are a virgin if you do not have carnal knowledge. You know, some people will say, we only kissed, we only
we only made
but
out,
there was no
penetration.
And they will still consider themselves highly as virgins. But then some religions say, as long as you have that knowledge, you are no longer a virgin. Exactly. So in order for us to actually go into can a virgin touch herself, if you want to look at it in the aspect of you are not breaking your hymen, let's say, as long as you are not breaking your hymen, your clitoris is not where your hymen is. Doctors, am I right?
Yeah, very correct.
Okay, if you stimulate that area till you feel pleasure, you didn't necessarily disvirgin yourself.
Okay.
Yeah,
because Lovey is not a church. It's not church. It's not a religious show.
I'm confused.
You get it? It's not a religious show.
No, but focusing on because we needed to get that clear. Yeah? I got some messages to that effect, and so that's why I brought it to the table so that can be sorted. Where some women who are virgins, because on the premise of they have never had penetrative sex before. Yes? So if you say a woman should touch herself, I'm now asking, what exactly should she be touching? Right? What exactly should she be touching?
Okay.
So, but if you've made it clear that she can touch the clitoris,
her breast. As I mentioned some erogenous zones.
So
just like
the nipple.
Just like what he said, explain the various erogenous zones, and going back to what I said earlier, vaginal stimulation or vaginal stimulation. That's where you have penetration.
Yes.
You can still achieve pleasure without penetration.
Yeah.
That's why I said even virgins themselves. Now, what I consider a virgin, or the basis now where I'm basing this argument on now, is that a virgin is someone whose hymen has not been broken yet. So
for a man,
medically.
No, for
I don't know why you have to.
I'm just asking.
It's not a business.
It's not a debate. It's a question.
No, don't
medically,
worry.
Again,
we are all as far as we have not penetrated. So coming back, you can still achieve pleasure by clitoral stimulation, nipple stimulation, stimulation, and flicking of your erogenous zones. It could be your neck. I love necks. It could be your ears. It could be your toes. I love toes as well too.
Toes.
Yeah.
Inner thighs.
Inner thighs. Like okay. Inner thighs.
Could even be.
I feel
credit a lot.
That's financial stimulation.
I said
yes.
Even non-physical triggers.
Yeah. Non-physical triggers.
Yeah, for some people it's like
to be
that.
throbbing.
I love that you mentioned credit a lot. My account details in your DM.
That's the type Elijah Lee has.
How did you know? Stop it.
A lot of women would have that.
I know.
A lot of women have that.
So still talking about the techniques for survivors of FGM to enjoy sex and how they can explore that forms of intimacy. Communication is also important. As a woman who has gone through FGM, it's important that's what Tega just talked about, exploring and finding out. So when you know this, it's important you express those needs you now find out.
To your partner.
Express them to your partner. Share how you feel physically and emotionally with your partner. Build trust with him. Or if it's the other way around, build trust. Use words like, I feel more comfortable when you do things like this. When I feel good when you do this.
I like this.
Yeah, I like this. You should try to. Maybe if you don't want fast, you can say, I feel more comfortable when you take it slowly. All that. You should be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Next thing I would say is set boundaries. Be able to clearly communicate what feels safe and unsafe, what feels painful and what feels moderately painful and very painful, so your partner knows. Reassure your partner that the fact that I'm stating what these boundaries are is not a way to control you or anything. It's just a way for us to build trust and me to find emotional safety. Because I said, women who have gone through FGM, they don't feel safe. They don't feel complete.
Yeah.
So they will need their partner to help build the trust and emotional and throw up that emotional safety.
They need reassurance.
Sometimes even during sexual intercourse, it might actually cause PTSD.
Yes. That's where the partner will need to be patient.
Yeah.
Also, you need to guide your partner during intimate moments. Tell them what feels good and what doesn't. This will help your partner understand how to meet your needs without causing discomfort.
Like that, baby.
Don't be mom and
like
expect them to know what is happening. They will not know what is going on. You have to tell them.
Communications, that is
the next thing that is very important for people who have experienced survivors of AGM is that we should be able to redefine intimacy beyond genital contact. If you don't do this, there will just be, from the lady that asked us that question last night, there will be no way on God's green earth for you to, find pleasure in sexual intimacy. Sexual intimacy doesn't just include contact. It doesn't mean penetration alone. There are other ways you can get that. One of such ways is things in getting involved in sexual bonding activities. Spend time enjoying non-sexual touch,
long romance,
like massage, cuddling, holding hands,
kissing.
Try activities like bathing together, dancing. Practice staring into each other's eyes, eye gazing. Just to foster this emotional closeness. Kissing, very important. If you're a survivor of FGM, please take your kissing and oral intimacy very important. When I say oral intimacy,
it means that they will also have to take hygiene very important.
Yeah, obviously. If you know you want somebody to do something to you, you have to make the environment somewhere they will be willing to engage in. So when I say oral intimacy, it's oral intimacy. Cunnilingus and when I mean cunnilingus, head and hair. So you should be able to communicate so well that your partner gets it. Kissing, important. Focus on deep kissing. Oral stimulation, as I said, oral stimulation of other body parts. If you find out that your partner likes, one of their original zones is their neck, please kiss it very well. Kiss it very well. If you find out it's their inner thighs, take your time and do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Do not be in a haste. Most people who are, again I said, most people who has gone through FGM, rush does not work for them
at all.
Sharp will just give them PTSD. If you say you want to do quickly, it doesn't. You need to be patient. Then again, we will not skip past the place of leveraging professional guidance. There is always a place. There's something called sex therapy, and in Nigeria it's such a big thing, but I believe it's something that is important. A professional sex therapist can guide you through exercises that would help reduce the fear of sex and then reintroduce pleasure, in a controlled, supportive environment for someone who has undergone FGM. There's also pelvic floor physical therapy. They call it Kegel exercises. These Kegel exercises, they help you, through the pain, manage the physical pain and scarring. And over time, when you engage in this exercise, it makes the pain that you feel not so much. You don't feel it anymore, and you're able to enjoy even penetrative sex. There is also sensory play. Sensory play. I've talked about some of the erogenous zones. I've talked about kissing. I've talked about oral intimacy. The sensory play is also important. By sensory, you don't need to do anything but just setting the room and setting the mood. Do you understand? You can use oils that smell nice. You can use scented candles.
Yeah.
This thing sets the mood, and the mood is well set. Blue lights, very important.
And then sexy songs.
If the mood is important, sometimes certain temperatures. There's certain people that will feel good if the place is cool.
Yeah.
There's people that would like that if the environment is really chilly and all that. You engage in warm massage, you use oil and you massage her body. You stimulate her so much. At the end of the day, this person will find even penetrative sex, they'll find it easier. When you've prepared them, it's like preparing a ram for butcher. You've prepared it well, and when you're ready, it just moves on. People who have had FGM, survivors of FGM, is important, very important. And the kind of sex you have with them is slow slow and mindful. I like to say slow and mindful because you should focus on the process of intimacy rather than the goal of intercourse.
Yeah.
The goal of intercourse primarily would be to procreate, or to arrive at climax. But if you focus on the process of intimacy and look at it more as love making, look at this the sexual activity more as love making rather than just sex, I feel like you will take your time. You will not mind being slow, and you'll be intentional about making sure that your partner finds pleasure in what you are doing rather than just there should be mindful breathing when engaging in intercourse. This will help deepen connection between partners. Self-care is very important. Empowerment. Personally, as a survivor, someone who is a survivor, it's important because listen, most times we don't realize it, but it's sometimes a mind thing. When you're a survivor of FGM, you see yourself as less. As we mentioned before, you begin to feel like you're incomplete. But if you begin to tell yourself, I am deserving of love, I'm complete, you assure yourself over time, you begin to believe in it, and whatever anybody is saying, you feel like, I'm complete. I can still arrive at this. I can still find other ways to get there. And whenever, as a survivor of FGM, whenever you make progress in this, your goal of beating the self-esteem, your goal of beating the body dysmorphia that you'll be experiencing, you celebrate your small wins. You'll be happy for yourself. I'm talking about the mental, the psychological side now, more than the physical attributes. Tega has already talked about exploring, talk. So I don't really want to talk so much, but it's important to take small steps. Why exploring? Start with non-sexual intimacy, and slowly build towards sexual intimacy as you feel more comfortable with it. Yeah. As I said before, you should celebrate each step as you move from holding hands to cuddling, and next thing you like him kissing you on your neck. Slowly, just allow yourself. Slowly get into it. And always, if you, as a survivor of FGM again, if you want to enjoy intimacy or intercourse, view intimacy as an opportunity to connect, both emotionally and physically, rather than focusing solely on sexual. I think I've said this before. So it's important you view intimacy as an opportunity to connect. If you see it that way, it's easier for you to enjoy it. If you see it as whatever this thing we're doing, it's a way of building bond, of building trust. We're finding respect in each other. And you'll be slow. Just take it slow and mindful. Slow and mindful sex is the way, and explore all other non-physical forms of intimacy. I think that's what I have. So I think that's my advice for survivors of FGM.
Why is Tega doing?
Because I know the men will love the discussion we're talking about next.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready?
Why would they?
Does anybody have anything to say before we start? Because why I'm actually saying this now is so that you can get prepared in case you want to start something. So that as I'm explaining it, you might be practicing it as we are doing it, and as we are saying it on air, wherever you are, you can be hands-on, practical. So I'd like probably someone should just say a couple of things before we delve into the
Can I debunk the myths now?
Okay, yes, let's go ahead and laugh.
God have mercy. I was going through the myths and I was like, why were these ever myths in the first place?
Yeah.
Right. Like what brought this whole thing about? Some myths surrounding female genital mutilation include: 1. FGM preserves virginity and chastity.
I lie.
Exactly.
No, I like to say that I lie whenever you say it. So we can debunk this.
Exactly, because earlier he mentioned how he knows someone that has gone through the procedure and she is really sexually active.
Yes.
So in that case, would you say it's it preserves chastity or whatever? No. So the truth. What do you call it? The truth behind that is that it does not guarantee virginity or chastity
at all.
At all. Like in any way. It really doesn't. Another myth is that FGM can lead to enhances fertility.
I really like for you before.
I lie.
Enhances fertility. I have no idea why they would think cutting off something that was created perfect or perfectly. Something that was created for a particular purpose should be meddled with in order to increase its purpose. Why would you cut off something and expect it to work better?
To work better,
okay, let me come in.
Okay.
I think I know why they believe that myth.
Okay, please enlighten me.
Like I said earlier, when a woman has FGM, it drastically reduces her sensitivity.
Yes.
And when her sensitivity is drastically reduced, it automatically limits her orgasm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as a man, when you're having sexual intercourse with a woman, and sometimes when she experiences orgasm oftenly, her orgasm will make you to come or have a pre-cum.
Okay.
Even when you are not ready. Okay, so where that myth came in is
so it's jealousy.
No, it's not about jealousy. It's not about jealousy.
God, I'm really trying to
all those olden days people, they must have done something, and from there they'll be like, okay, it was somebody that poured water on the salt, and the salt melted, and I went to meet the other. If you pour water for salt, it will melt. You understand? So when you have sexual intercourse with a woman that has FGM, the possibility for you to last longer is highly.
Yeah.
Oh, true. So they now felt, because normally something that was supposed to last for like 3 to 4 minutes,
because it's sweet.
Because it's very sweet. It's not been lasting like 10, 15 minutes. Understand? Yeah. 10 to almost 15 minutes.
My question
so they now felt that maybe because when the man stays longer, he will now be able to come better.
Oh my God.
Understand?
My question is, when you take off the sensory parts of a woman, doesn't that also like reduce her ability to get wet, and in other words,
that's why it's painful.
That's why it's very
in other
painful.
words, enhance, like it reduces the man's sexual pleasure too, because what is the point of hitting something that is dry land?
Yeah. But imagine a man who uses lubricants
in those days.
I'm okay. I'm looking about this time. Okay.
But now
there's lube. But I mean,
a lot of men complain about women not being wet enough
because there's no pleasure.
You're lasting long to arrive in where you are. It's like you want to.
Then again, in those days, the more you scream, the more I'm doing my work well. They assume
the more they feel you're doing your work well.
Meanwhile, the scream could actually be as a result of the pain.
Yes.
More from the pain.
It's usually from pain that is in our work you do.
So when they hear this, Okonkwo is at it again. You understand?
Oh my God.
Yeah, a man. Okonkwo, man.
So debunking that myth is FGM does not increase fertility.
Yes,
it does not in any way. FGM has no medical benefit. As I said today, no medical benefit has been registered.
And for years to come.
FGM. Maybe years to come they can find that one.
Because we are basically battling how to reduce and take it destroy.
Humans are evolving. So maybe in 5,000 years time, do you know that you will need a clitoris to open
orgasm? Thank God I will not be here.
Then when you need a clitoris, let me go to someone when you could just put them for your body just shake.
So go to the next myth.
Okay, another myth is that FGM is a cultural tradition that should be respected.
Yes, as I said, I do it for your mama. I do it for your mama. So who are you to?
We have been doing it for ages.
So the reality is that any cultural practice that is a violation of your human rights, that causes any harm to any individual of any gender should be destroyed.
Exactly.
It should be challenged.
Do you know the killing of twins was a cultural
exactly.
So imagine they stuck with
they felt it was evil.
How can you procreate two people?
I just feel humans, when they want to commit heinous and hideous crimes, they just look for a stupid reason just to back it up.
It kind of
they know they are doing something stupid though, but they just have to look for one,
it kind of
something that sounds logical to them.
They used to kill babies that were born with red hair because they believed they were witches. Red hair.
These things still happen. No? Let's not talk about them.
Yeah,
like,
redheads. They were killing
These things
redheads
are
earlier
happening.
in time.
Those things are happening.
Yeah.
I thank God I was
It's
not
one
born
of those
then.
cultural.
Therefore,
I
kill me.
feel like so crazy to say an unexamined life is not worth living. You should ask questions about these cultural practices, especially these ones that cause harm to you. You don't just swallow it hook, line, and sinker and just move on. Oh yeah, my grandfather said that's how it's done. And do you know there was a time when they looked at people who survivors of sickle cell as Obanjis and all that.
Yeah.
And treated them with they were discriminatory to them and all that. So imagine they continue with that cultural practice where you throw them in the evil forest, you throw twins in the evil forest and say those kind of questions should be questioned.
That's why education is not a scam.
It should be questioned.
Okay, so I think my last myth is going to be FGM is a minor procedure with no lasting harm. In reality, FGM causes physical, emotional, and chronic pain, infections, and trauma.
Chronic pain
on any individual, like even if it's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, no matter the stage. Like I mentioned earlier, PTSD.
Yes.
You mentioned body dysmorphia.
Yes.
A whole lot of harm, both physically,
low self-esteem.
Like I feel the risk outweigh the benefit.
There's no benefit. Let's just say
there's no benefit except the fact that they will tell you are transitioning into womanhood. Like
big talk.
Big talk. My goodness. So besides that, I don't think there's any more risk we need to myth we need to debunk.
Okay, these are the major.
These are core. They are important.
All right.
These things are happening in our world today.
Of course.
These are not things. They're not ancient things. It's happening.
And it's very painful because I wrote an essay when I was in SS1. That should be like how many years ago? Should be at least 7 years ago, if not up to 8. 7 years ago on female genital mutilation. So when we had that conversation last week on orgasm and that lady raised the question, I was like, this thing still happens? Like, does this thing actually still happen?
It does.
God.
Statistics show that there are about 20 million Nigerian women living with
only
FGM.
Nigerian women.
Just Nigerian.
Nigeria is actually leading.
Are you serious?
Recently, when I looked at the stats, Nigeria is leading. Nigeria has the highest number of women living with FGM.
Because Nigeria is a vastly populated country.
Plus, we are overly religious.
Of course.
Yeah, overly religious also plays.
We just have the whole cultural thing deeply rooted, and then it affects most of the things that we do, and somehow it just shields us from seeing the light. This one, the light is not at the end of the tunnel.
But for me, I would say in this one, in this FGM, I feel like religion has barely anything to do, because if you look at it, the South has more Christians, in quotes, and the North has more of the Muslims. Then the West has a mix of both the Christians and the Muslims. So, and this cultural thing we're talking about exists more in the South and then the Southwest. So, then again, what are we going to do?
One thing I will say about it is that the North, they value their women more in terms of finance. The benefits. They believe in marrying off their children. You know how they do the whole early marriage thing in the North. So the child is married off at an early age. While I was in secondary school, I remember being told then that because I went to the North from being in the South, where then before we had these new generation schools that we have now, that secondary schools that let girls make hair. At the time, girls were not allowed to make hair in secondary school. In fact, it was like when you make your hair in primary school. So once you want to enter into secondary school, you have to cut your hair. I refused to do that.
You were rebellious.
What I did was, my uncle had to go and look for my school. I was ready to travel from here to Damascus to go to secondary school because I didn't want to cut my hair. I was not going to do all that whole, you're going to secondary school, go and cut your hair. I felt like I was going to reduce my steez, please. My fine girl cannot come and go. So my uncle has to go and look for a school that allowed girls to make their hair. Now in the North, when I went to the North, I realized that I was worried about it initially because I was like, okay, so I was living in a school where they were making hair. I'm like, so if I go to the North, will they also let me make my hair? I went there and you barely find a Northern girl on low cut.
Yeah.
You will barely find a nursing girl on low cut. They do everything they can do to preserve the beauty of their female children, because this female child is supposed to bring money to the family. One Alhaji is supposed to come and marry her, and then money will come into the family. So girls are treasured somehow. There's the whole, women are relegated to the background based on kitchen duties and stuff. But somehow, there's also the benefits that female children bring to the family. So, anything that is going to tamper with her beauty, with her beauty and stuff, it's possible that, they also avoid all of that in the north. And then coming to the southeast here, where we have more of these cases, because like he said, and I read up about female genital mutilation a little bit, and the stories that I've read from women recently, I noticed that the majority of them were from the east. So when he said what he said, I could relate, because most of them were from the east, talking about their sexual experiences. Some of them have been married for years, and it's not enough for a woman to say, oh, I have never experienced orgasm before. It's also, we have to now trace, we have to go back to this as the reason. One woman told us, so I'm in this powerful female group where we get to hear and read stuff, and so when she talked about how she had, before now, she shared her story about how she's been married for about 10 years or so, and she has never experienced orgasm. She doesn't know what that feels like. And so women actually told her, okay, look, do you know what FGM is? You need to go and check out for this, And so she came back to us recently and said, actually,
she's a survivor.
This is her situation. And that's why she has, so far, she has no business with sexual pleasure. And so, little advice came up from here and there and stuff. So all of this is just, look, it's a whole lot. Beautiful people. We're going to open the phone lines so you can call in and ask your questions. You have questions concerning this. I do hope that this has been helpful for you. Anyway, Tega said we're going to go into a rather interesting aspect. The aspect that he wants to be known for.
Are we doing that now, Lita?
We're doing it now afterwards to open the phone lines. And so we're doing it now. Okay, are you ready to go into your favorite aspect for us?
Well, yeah. So, for individuals who have undergone female genital mutilation, sexual intimacy can actually be very, very challenging for them due to the physical and emotional scars. However, with patience, communication, and understanding, just like what Gentle Rascal has said so far, many couples can actually rediscover their intimacy and pleasure. And there are certain sexual positions that may help to minimize discomfort and enhance the experience for survivors of female genital mutilation by allowing more control, reducing pressure on very sensitive areas.
Allowing more control. Who should control who?
The lady should be more in control.
Oh, yes. Really?
Yeah. Reducing pressure on sensitive areas and actually encouraging emotional closeness.
Yeah.
And just to further recap what Nelson has said earlier, there are certain factors that should be considered for comfortable intimacy. Number one is what we always talk about, communication. You and your partner should always openly discuss preferences, boundaries, discomforts that you have, or what you prefer to say. Then you also have lubrication. We are in an age whereby we have, a whole lot of lubricants in the market, so you should be able to get a high quality water-based, very, very important, a water-based lubricant to actually reduce friction, as natural lubrication may be affected due to FGM. Then Nelson also said you should start slow. This talks about pacing. You should start slow to actually build trust and comfort, ensuring that your partner, who is actually the survivor, that is the female in question, feels safe and is in control. Then you should focus on non-penetrative acts of intimacy such as kissing, touching, massages to ease into sexual activity. And just like what I would always say, for these persons, it is very important for them. You should engage in love making instead of sex.
Yes.
That's how you derive the maximum level of pleasure. Engage in what?
Love
making instead of what? Sex. Now, what are some sexual positions that may help with individuals who are victims of female genital mutilation? Number one, like I said last week, number one is spooning. It's also called the side-by-side position. And this position involves both partners lying on their sides with why are we laughing?
Do you know people did not let me rest on Thursday? They were talking about sports. Some people, they told me their favorites. I asked a question.
Okay.
I said, if you were stuck with one sex position for the rest of your life, which one would you go with? Some people told me scissors. They told me spooning. I don't know what is scissors. I was asking them if they have cutlass. Scissors.
Scissors.
Yes.
Why you think scissors? It's the lesbians who do the scissors. And that's why I'm saying scissors.
Yeah. Scissors is basically this.
Yes. Okay.
So that's what I'm curious.
I think men and women can do scissors.
They can, but it's possible.
But
for you to actually want to do that for the rest of your life, there's actually a question mark about your sexuality. So, coming back, spooning. This position involves, both partners lying down on their sides with one partner, which is actually the man, behind the lady, and it allows for shallow, penetration and gentle movements, reducing pain or pressure on any of the sensitive.
Shallow penetration.
Yeah.
So why is it sweet still?
You remember, just like what I said, you are trying to reduce much pressure on sensitive parts.
Okay, for the woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the benefit is that it reduces strain on the pelvic area and encourages emotional intimacy between both partners. Next is cowgirl, also known as the woman on top.
Yeehaw!
Now, the person on top, which is usually the woman, has full control over the depth, the angle, and the pace.
She knows where
penetration.
It's better, so she knows the pace. If I want it quicker, if I want it sooner, she can control all that. So
yeah, she can adjust her movements to her comfort level, what she's comfortable with. So it provides a sense of control, which is empowering for them who are actually survivors of FGM, and it also reduces pressure on scar tissue or sensitive areas. Next is the lotus position.
Oh, wow. Is it what now?
Lotus
we talked
position.
about it the last time.
More like a face-to-face sitting
Now, I
position.
think that is what people are mistaking for scissors. Because, to be honest, that's what
it's possible. Maybe they forgot the name.
Yeah, because
Lotus.
as a guy, if you want to scissors, I struggle to see how you'll be comfortable.
It's not working in my head.
I struggle to see how you'll be comfortable.
It's going to be very difficult.
But lotus will work.
Yeah,
yes,
but lotus is giving like this.
Yes.
So guys,
it's more like the guy is sitting down and the woman is wrapped around him with her legs around his waist. She's on top with her legs around his waist.
Not necessarily.
It's like a cowgirl, but you're not lying.
You're not lying.
Yes, you're not lying down.
Okay.
You want to say something, Martin? Please, let's not jump somewhere. We have a professional here, so let's
don't forget that choice of position during sexual intercourse also has to do with the size and the size of the partners involved. Mostly.
True.
Yes, you have to put that into consideration. So, like she says, scissors is mostly done by two couples that are of the same height.
Yes.
When the both couples are of the same height, they will enjoy scissors perfectly. But when one is brief, one is brief.
Oh.
Yes.
And the other person is taller.
Yes.
So for scissors, the height is important.
Very, very important.
That's why
the height and not the shape, not the size, their body size.
I said size, and size has to do with both height and weight.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, if during the cowgirl, if for instance, the man is like Tega.
I don't understand.
Example.
The slimmest man in this place, the man is like Tega, and the woman is like formerly Lizzo.
Okay,
Lizzo.
Lizzo before she lost her weight.
Yeah.
She lost weight. You know, it might not work You might die.
For the season?
Cowgirl.
That's Lotus, right?
No.
Okay, the normal cowgirl.
You understand all that weight on.
You don't know the strength that slim people possess.
But you know,
you are underrating
I
slim
know that
people.
some men are really strong.
No, not about that. There's a high risk of penile fracture. You know, there's a high risk of penile fracture.
I was coming there. If
you carry somebody on the big side,
even if it's
and they like big size. They think that those kind of men
because
like big
penile
size.
fracture, one of the position that have increased the penile fracture is cowgirl.
Yeah.
The other day I was fortunate to assist in surgery. I saw this thing. It's not funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny.
Really?
Yes.
They will open it. God, no.
And do what? And stitch it.
Yeah, try to stitch out the. It's muscle. You know the penis doesn't have bone. Yeah,
penile fracture is not.
Doesn't have bone. So it's a muscle tear.
Don't even pray for anybody to experience it.
Please no.
What if I pray for my ex?
Even that one. That's the thing you don't want to wish on anyone.
Continue.
So coming back to the positions I was talking about, Lotus, right? That's actually face to face, where it involves both partners sitting, upright, facing each other.
Yeah.
Often with one partner's leg wrapped around the other partner. And this position prioritizes, emotional connection and allows the female to control the pace.
Yeah.
It is non-intimidating and, improves communication among partners. Next is missionary, or
of course, I was going
the
to
modified missionary.
I was going to say because
I knew the way you've been looking at me.
Yes, because it's the missionary is the one that builds intimacy the most. You stare into the eyes of the lover, and
now I come.
There's a way I'm looking.
Here I come.
Now I come. So a pillow can be placed under the hips to help the female to control the angle of penetration. Slower movements and enhanced focus on emotional closeness. It's not just all about trusting.
Yes, you
need to
don't trust blindly.
Is that the trust you're talking about?
No. Like when I mean trust with an or a H.
I say mindful. Be mindful in your trusting.
So
Russ.
You have modified missionary. Then the last one I'll give, because I don't want to give you guys so many positions so that you don't start trying a whole lot of stuff. Collapsed doggy.
Okay.
Collapsed
like
doggy.
That collapsed doggy.
Yeah, it does.
Rear entry.
With,
there should be like a pillow to actually adjust the hips a little bit so that
it's not completely flat. So it's
not completely
raised.
Flat. So that there's this angle of penetration that
there's
once you
just finish.
try to penetrate, there is how would I put it? I don't say scrape. There's this contact it gives between the. There's this contact that is initiated with the G spot and the A spot, and females tend to love it a lot.
Yeah,
this collapsed doggy, especially when it is modified.
There's this form of collapsed doggy that ladies who know how to act the most are perfect. If you know what acting is.
It's the way he said. It's this acting thing that you guys are interested in so
you
much.
see that form
I
of
feel like
collapsed
you're
doggy?
putting so much pressure on people's daughters. Because you not hear this one cannot bend. This one cannot do this.
You go come now.
Acting is not bending.
It's not bending. Let's correct that.
It's not.
Let's correct that.
I think Akin exposes the ruge more.
Yes.
The what?
The ruge. You know those regions inside the vagina. It exposes it.
I think do you know what? Look at me trying to act right now.
The work of acting mostly comes from, it's not the back, it's actually your waist.
My dear, acting is an art. Not everyone can master it.
It's a skill that needs to be taught.
There are some people that will act here, go be me carry go flog. What are you? What is the meaning of that? Like, boy,
still angry.
Some people, if they were to give out licenses to people to actually have sex, you withdraw their license. You do not deserve to have sex. But there are some persons that we act.
Oh my God.
And you will come before you come.
And you would experience
you will know why it's called act.
You know how the gates of heaven, they are acts. Have you not read Revelation? They are acts. So if you act, Heaven on earth.
I feel like these men have left us.
No, I swear, see when they are so when we were talking about MGM, you guys were not this
I was passionate.
No, they were
Are you
passionate.
sure?
We're passionate, but
not
there's just something that
No.
Arkin does to men.
We are passionate
Trust me,
about
and it's
helping
not just
women
them.
explore themselves.
We are passionate about
We're
helping
passionate
women.
about women. We're trying to help you guys.
If you want to hack me, hack.
I swear, I love that line. Choke me, my brother. Thank you very much.
All right, beautiful people. Let's open the phone lines. So you can call in and ask your questions, okay? You can text in and, yes, call in 0817 0000951. 0817 0000951. 0810 9510951. Let's talk. Hello.
Yeah, this is Daniel.
Welcome, Daniel. How are you?
Yeah. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Mr. Daniel.
I don't have any much things to say, but get the ladies call because this show is mainly for ladies. Let them call.
Okay, Daniel. Bye-bye.
Yeah, let them call. Thank you.
All right. If they want to call, they will call. It's not by force now. Sometimes they just really want to learn.
The show is not only for women. No.
Yeah, it's for men and women.
It's for men and women.
Yeah,
because
and the thing is that my listeners have this thing where they want ladies to call, but
call
you can't
first.
really. Women are known not to call on the radio.
Yeah.
Yes, a few of them will call, a few of them will text.
Yeah.
Really, it's their choice. Really, there's no by force there. Hello.
Hello, I'm Maka Felix.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, let's take that.
My chief.
Your fans.
How you doing now?
Big one.
Fredo.
Nero.
Como eu?
Okay. All right. I'm Music Emperor. But let me just introduce myself. My name. My name is Finander Samuel, aka known as the Music Emperor. Calling from NTA Road, the Episcopal Bishop of NTA Road. First of all, I want to say I'm the founder of the DMA Association of Lovey Dovey. You understand? First of all, I want to give you one title in this, organization, one title in this association. I want to give you the title of Ozavite in this association. I'm sure you know what that means, right?
Yeah, I get you. Thank you very much for that.
The Ozavite of DMA Association. I want to give you that title. That's one. Then number two, Amaka Felix, I would love for you to give Tega my number. I want to really communicate with him personally.
All right, you can send it as a text message when you are done.
All right. Okay. Now, number three. When I get the call, I want Tega to explain, because I heard 6-9. Was it on Thursday or was it on Wednesday or Thursday last week? I heard 6-9. I want you guys to break down that 6-9 the same way you've broken down the rest. You understand?
All right.
I'm Maka Felix. You are doing well. Onyo Rukewe, Lovey Dovey. Onyo Rukewe, Amaka Felix. Onyo Rukewe, Ogenetega. Onyo Rukewe, Nelson. Onyo Rukewe, Ella. You guys are doing well. Good night. It's Shegwan. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. 0701-9339-962. Regular text messages and WhatsApp messages as well. 0701-9339-962. So come in with your questions, okay? Let's know what you want to ask. We are here for you. You should not ask me after now. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good morning.
Good morning, please. Tega and all the crew members of tonight's program. The Amaka of Port Harcourt. The only voice that can make me parachute out of my flight to America. Make me cease fire on the battlefield and swim across the River Niger just to hear your golden voice. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine. I'm cool. Mr. Sincere.
You're welcome.
I heard Mr. Tega talk about not satisfying FGM victim. But I once had a side chick that was a FGM victim. She's from one of the tribes that practice that. She's always satisfied with because I have a extra large machine gun. So whenever I have intercourse with her, she's always satisfied because I am a master of foreplay before the real action. So by the time I'm done with my foreplay, and I go in with my king-size machine gun, she's always satisfied. In the morning, she cannot even wake up to prepare breakfast. So I disagree with Mr. Pega. That's my position. But if you can explain further what a king-size machine gun can do to a FGM victim, I will understand better. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sincere.
You get his question.
Yeah, Mr. Sincere, I would like to say you already answered the question and asked the question all at once, because you said something about being a master of foreplay. And if you remember us talking, we talked about how emphasizing on foreplay would help anybody at all, even if it's someone who is a FGM survivor, to do better in intimacy. So I think you answered and you asked the question all at once. So that's
so the fact that he's a master of foreplay
makes it
has
easy.
already done the job.
Yeah, so whenever he comes with the 2-barrel machine gun, it's already destroyed, you understand?
I also think if I got his question right, the size of your machine gun does not determine if
I think
you can satisfy a woman that has FGM or not. It's more of what you can do, not the size at all. It's not about the car, it's about the driver.
Yes, so
I'll be giving us lines.
I like that.
Be giving us lines, please, guys. All right, keep your messages coming in. Okay, messages and calls as well. Yes, please, we're taking them. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. What's your name?
Sorry. I'm Saint.
What's your name?
Calling from Port Harcourt.
Saint. Okay, Saint. All right.
I have a disturbing question. Should I ask?
Of course.
Okay. Now this is it. When I want to make love on a daytime, I don't act like I don't do anything. Like I'm just a 2 minutes man on a daytime. But in the evening, like in the night, I can go more than 3 hours. Do you guys know the cause of it?
During the day, yeah? You don't do more than 2 minutes.
I cannot go more than, like, let's just say 2 or 3 minutes. I'm done. And I can't come up again for some hours. But at night, when my body has relaxed at night, like that, like by this time, when I'm doing work by this time, I can do it the morning. So I want to know if there is anything wrong with me.
Okay. All right.
Nothing is actually wrong with you. What I would say, or the factor I would say that actually comes into play is stress or anxiety. With stress and anxiety, you tend to perform less than you should have. That's why at night, when you are more comfortable, when the weather and the ambience is so cool, you tend to last, long till morning and all of that. So you should try to work on your stress level, and when you want to have sex, you should ensure that you are as stress-free as possible so that you concentrate on the job at hand.
That's when he wants to have sex, during the day.
When
he has a problem.
Yes, that's what we're saying.
I think the temperature thing also has a thing.
Yeah.
If you remember me talking, sometimes there are certain people who if you remember, I talked about sensory play and some of these things. Sometimes some people find more pleasure when they experiment. I like to say sex is an experiment. So when they experiment with under certain temperatures, So at night, he even said something. At night, he's more relaxed.
Yeah.
If you're more relaxed, of course, you will last longer.
All right. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Okay, here we have a woman calling. Tega is clapping for you.
Welcome.
Good morning, darling. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm testimony.
All right, welcome. Testimony. Where are you calling from?
From Port Harcourt.
You're welcome. Talk to us.
Okay, it's about a friend. My bestie.
Okay.
She never gets turned on. Like, she doesn't always get that mood. Like, both aspects. So I'm like, what can? She's never ever turned on, no matter what it is. So I don't know.
Okay. She never ever gets turned on, irrespective of what her partner does.
Yeah. She just does it for satisfaction.
She just has sex for satisfaction.
Yes.
Whose satisfaction? Her partner's satisfaction.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll answer. Thank you for calling, dear. Ella.
Okay. She never has satisfaction.
She never gets turned on.
Okay,
so
she doesn't get turned on.
Yes.
In as much as there are people with, very low libido. Yeah, there are people that sex is just not their thing. You understand? You can only turn them on, via, other things, but not sex. In as much as there are people like that, I feel like your friend should. We've been saying this over and over. Even last week on orgasm, she should experiment.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
she
important.
should experiment on herself.
Yeah.
On even with sex toys.
Yes.
Different things. She should try different things, like a whole lot of things. And there's also I'm just going to drop it there. Sexuality. Is she forcing herself to be into what she is not into?
Oh, please.
Oh, said, oh, please. It is the truth. There are people that are asexual, right?
Yes.
Exactly. That too could, come to play. So please, she should experiment. You understand?
Experiment. Please don't use cucumber.
Rather than experimenting on other people, has she tried using aphrodisiac?
That too.
It
could help with her libido levels.
Yes.
And aphrodisiac doesn't mean like drugs. We have natural aphrodisiacs.
Yeah, natural.
Yeah. Like them
coconut, dates, and tiger nuts.
All those things.
Drink it, baby.
I had cloves too.
Cloves,
Yes.
So natural aphrodisiac.
Yeah.
She should try that and see.
Aphrodisiacs work. It works.
All right. Okay. Hello.
Special baby.
Hi. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm fine. That girls I think I should comment them first. They just made me remember 10 years ago what happened to me with one lady I love so much. After being with me for 3 days, I don't know how I can penetrate. She allowed me to do everything. Everything. She's a shy type. She allowed me to do everything. I suck her nipple, finger her, did everything, but yet, when I want to penetrate, she will say no. Why? Because I've not touched what she wants. After visiting me, the second day, third day, there was nothing I can do, and this is I love very well. So I don't want to force her. So I just managed to call her friend why I knew her true. So yeah, this is the problem, I don't know. Her friend just said, okay, she just tell me something now that she will allow me. I said, well, she just tell me, okay, when she will call, what you do after playing with her, just go to her skull. That her fall on her head, straight to her face. Kiss her there. Don't kiss her mouth. Just kiss. That place does not have skin, doesn't have flesh, just skull. So just kiss. So the moment she came, I was like playing with her, the way I was doing before. Later I took my mouth to that side and I kissed her head. She was the one who even fucked me in. With some very loud scream and all that. After that day, like no day she come, I don't have her. So that was 10 years ago. So I love that thing they said, that it is better you know where to touch a woman before you go in than just going in straight. So if not for that, I will be touching here and there, yet nothing happens. So I don't accept for that. But now I'm married now, so...
We're happy for you.
There's another question I want to ask them.
All right, shoot.
And I wanted to answer, yeah. For example, because these days, you don't know woman who have a weak wound and all that. If, for example, a woman have just conceived nearly, maybe let me just say a month or 2 months and the kid maybe. Is it that good to continue sex? Because I learned that after 3 months or 4 months at least maybe. Because sometimes they have weak wound and all that, and you might go and then it might cause miscarriage and all that. So let them enlighten me about that. You're my person, special.
Okay, we'll answer now. Sorry? Yes, we'll answer.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, if I understood your question well, you said if it's okay to start having intercourse with your wife that just gave birth after 3 months. 3 months is perfectly fine to start having sex with the woman, except the woman has tear during childbirth
and
it's still healing. So as long as there is no tear, there is no incision,
and she's ready for
there is no incision from surgery, and she's ready, from 1 month upwards, the body have started regaining itself. So even from 1 month upwards, as long as she's ready,
yes, every woman is different.
You can start having sex with her.
So do not say because Emeka's wife was ready after 2 days. Your wife should also be ready, please.
And do not say because your wife gave birth,
you will now go outside.
You will now go outside.
To go and do 1 or 2.
Go you have to be patient. A bonga.
Exactly. All right, let's take this call before I go into messages. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, the answer to that man's question that said it's a 2 minutes man in the daytime and then it's active in the night. That man should go and check his sugar level. Maybe his sugar level is high. That's what is disturbing him. Then the lady that said she has never had the organism, that lady, she need a bigger machine gun. This is Mr. Sincere talking.
All right, Mr. Sincere, thank you.
She will have solution to her problem.
All right, thank you. He said she should check. The man should check. The man that should check his sugar level. Is there any need for sugar level?
No, the thing is with sugar, with hyperglycemia, it's not particular. I'm sure it's even at night you can even have a higher level of your blood sugar. So why I don't think blood sugar has anything to do with it. If it's blood sugar, it will be every time.
Every time.
That's why I believe it's more mental than physical.
Okay. All right. Let's take this call before I go into messages. Hello.
Oh, Professor. Yeah, can you repeat my question? I didn't say when she gave birth. Early conception. That's what I mean. As a case, maybe a month or 2 months, as a case, maybe. Not when she gave birth. Early conception, that's what I mean.
Early conception, how? What do you mean, please?
For example, if she taking a month or 2 months, as case may be, it's already a month pregnant or 2 months pregnant.
Okay, if she's pregnant 1 month, okay, if she's pregnant, can you have sex with her between 1 month, 2 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
After 3 months. You understand my question now?
All right.
You can have sex with your partner from the first trimester, second trimester, as long as she's ready, as long as she's comfortable, you can have sex with her.
Able and willing.
Yeah, that's it. There's no medical contraindication.
The funny thing is that certain women have a higher libido when they're pregnant.
Yes.
Very funny thing.
Yes.
So of course you can't.
It will not remove the baby. Don't worry. No matter how long your machine gun is,
it will knock the baby's head.
It will knock the baby's head off. It will not.
Okay. This message here says FGM actually sounding like one of these religious groups. It was like hell with my wife initially. Sex was like walking through the valley of the shadow of death.
My brother.
Though I happen to be her first man. Guys, presently she scares me with her level of libido. How come? And then he says, does watching of blue films help? Help to do what?
Help to do what?
Okay. Hello? Hello? Oh, sorry. I'll try calling again. This message here says, I am a lady that went through this act. Okay, let me take this call first. Hello? Hello?
Yes, good morning, guys. Moses on the line.
All right, welcome, Moses. Good morning. Quickly, please.
Thank you. I had a lot to say, but let me just try and make it few.
Thank you. Please make it few. We're out of time.
Yes. One thing about the media is that it's about making you believe what they want you to believe. Yes. The same issue, the same situation, the same scenario, they would say that the local midwives are not good. It's all about politics. But what they're trying to tell you is that because these people didn't go to school, they didn't go to formal education. But all of us, we know that, the midwives are doing good job. Yeah, the lady mentioned something that caught my attention. One of the ladies there. There is no proof that the FGM, guarantees fertility and the rest of that. There is also no proof that, it does not, it stops women from enjoying sex. You see,
there is. There is. We spent all the time
yeah.
talking about it.
Yes, we surely did.
We agree that I will make it brief. Yeah, I want to just point out a few things. I have my points. There's no time. You see, the brother there, one of the brothers mentioned something, about women enjoying sex, and the rest of that, but pointing out the different strategies. One thing about sex is, like I've always said, it's not just about the penetration. What happens in sex is, it depends on the connection between you and the lady. Just like the touch and other things he mentioned, that is what makes people enjoy sex. It's not about the whether there was a mutilation, there was no mutilation. The lady mentioned about trauma. People don't go through trauma, doing the piercing and everything. It's this other one that causes trauma. Of course, there's no time to mention.
All right. Thank you, Mo.
Okay, sir. Yes, in as much as we mentioned, different positions and, we talked about communication being a key player when it comes to having sex, whether FGM or not. The thing you need to know is that our whole reason for having this discussion here today was because of the question that was raised last week. Why? Because women with FGM do not experience sexual pleasure the same way normal women do. So that's basically our whole reason. And you cannot say it does not cause trauma or it does not, stop them from having sexual pleasure, except maybe you have a vagina and you can give me a first-hand, experience from your part. But for the women that have gone through such, they have said it. It is a fact. We have done research. They have contributed to this, and they have said it's most of the time it stops them from having sexual pleasure. And we've explained this is like the reason is because the clitoris is highly affected during this procedure. So what is his name? He explained that for a man, imagine they took off your cap.
The cap of your penis.
Yes, the cap of your penis.
And that's the height of excitement for men.
Yes. And then a lady comes on here to say she doubts that, you are not going to experience any satisfaction just because your cap was taken off. Do you understand now?
I have strong reason to believe that he joined midway through the program.
Because
if you listen, you understand that we are professionals. We are speaking from our professional expertise. We're not telling you this is something. We're telling you something we have experienced in the hospital. We have seen these things again and again, and we tell you this is the way it is. So I believe you didn't listen from the beginning.
They emphasize that there is no non-medical benefits whatsoever of FGM. There's no medical
and again, I'd like medical
benefits whatsoever.
I'd like to debunk that we didn't castigate midwives or anything. No. I believe, to be honest, we believe that there's a role for traditional birth attendants, there's a role for midwives, but the people who carry out these the FGM at most times do not have the medical expertise to perform such procedures. That's what we say.
And we're not saying midwives.
Yeah,
because people are actually trained.
Midwives, TBAs.
Yes. They are trained to actually do that.
I would never be found
midwives actually know what they are doing.
Of course.
They are different from a grandmother in the village who is they just want to bank on her old age.
Yes.
So, they'll just put expertise because she's old. But then that it is what it is. This message here says, I am a lady that went through this act, and of a truth, it's really bringing issues in my marriage. Moses, I hope you can hear this now.
Yeah.
I'm reading this message from Today FM's phone number. Okay, I'm always dry, even when I'm horny, and my husband is not patient. Always talking about how he likes ladies that squirt, and very wet ones. And very wet. One day he called me dry gin.
Jesus.
Secondly, I always have tear and painful sex and hardly get satisfied. This is really draining me physically, emotionally, and psychologically.
I hope he's listening.
Moses, this is a woman right here who has sent in her message. This is somebody's experience. This is somebody's experience right here. But anyway, I hope you have heard the suggestions that we made, dear lady, and I do hope that you can practice some of them, or all of them.
So the ones that concern you on your own part, try. I know you said your husband is not patient, but you can try your own.
Do your bit. Yeah. Yes, and let's see what happens from there. This messages are long, but he says, thank you, my guy Tega, you have made me smile tonight. Okay, what's your social media handle? Ella, thank you very much for that statement. I think it's her sexuality. I had a female friend who was like that, and it was her sexual preference that was the solution. I just hope most men won't stigmatize women who have had FGM. I wish I could meet these women and let them know they are deserving of everything lovely, sweet, and pleasurable that sex gives.
Thank you very much for that.
Poseidon, thank you for texting. This one says, good morning, presenter. I'm Favor from Ozuoba. For me, FGM is a diabolic act.
Lots of women are like
in
this.
the name of culture that has no healthy emotional, psychological, or sexual benefit. We should kick against female circumcision.
That's it. That's what it's called. Okay, in case of people don't understand, FGM we're talking about is female circumcision. Yes. That is what it is.
Yeah, rightly so. All right, so our time is fast spent. We can't take any more calls or messages, but Tega says he has a message for FGM victims. So let's hear from Tega before we go.
Okay. If you have any relative or close friend who's actually a survivor or may have been a victim of female genital mutilation, this is actually...
Or if you
are a victim of female genital mutilation, this is actually a message from myself to you, and it's a message of hope and empowerment. So you are more than what you have endured. You are strong, you are resilient, and beautiful in many ways that no one can take away from you. The scars you carry, visible or invisible, are not a reflection of your worth, but a testament to your courage and survival. Your body is yours, and it remains a vessel of power, life, and purpose. While the pains and challenges may feel overwhelming at times, know this: you are not broken. You are whole, deserving of love, respect, and the right to live fully and freely. The journey to self-appreciation and healing is not always easy, but it is possible. Start by honoring yourself, not just for surviving, but for daring to move forward. Celebrate the strength it takes to reclaim your voice and your identity. You have the power to define yourself beyond the experiences imposed upon you. You are not alone. Around the world, there are countless women and allies who stand with you, advocating for your rights and celebrating your courage. Together, we are building a world where every girl and woman is free to live without fear, to embrace her body, and to love herself unapologetically.
Yeah.
Take it one step at a time. Trust in your ability to heal, to grow, and to find love again. You are worthy of happiness. You are worthy of intimacy. You are worthy of peace.
Yeah.
Appreciate yourself for the amazing person you are and the limitless possibilities that lie ahead.
Yeah.
The world needs your light. Keep shining. You are extraordinary.
You are.
And you matter. You matter.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Tega, for that inspirational speech here and there. All right, guys, so that's how we wrap the show for tonight. So final, good night.
Okay, no final thoughts. Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
I meant final talk.
Okay.
Okay, I was going to say the journey, as our topic is the journey to reclaiming intimacy and enjoying sex after FGM. It's a long one that requires patience, compassion, and support. And every survivor's pathway is unique. So that somebody else tries something else and it works for them doesn't mean it will work exactly the same for you. But it's essential that you honor your feelings and your pace. Just understand that that someone did it quicker doesn't mean you do it. It will take a little bit of time, take a little bit of understanding. Another thing is intimacy is not just about the physical act, but it's about connection, it's about trust, it's about mutual joy. So, and you are not defined by your past experience. That you've had a bad or heinous or gruesome past experience doesn't mean it's going to continue like that. You're deserving as love of and pleasure and fulfillment, as Tega has said, and we believe in you. Just try some of the things we have said, and I believe you can actually reclaim your intimacy. Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, if you need a reminder, you can actually just go to Today FM, type Today FM on YouTube, and go and rewatch this episode, okay? So you can remind yourself of all the beautiful things that you have heard tonight. So final words of
Okay, I will speak to the men. For the men, if eventually you end up marrying a woman who had FGM, you need all you can do. Like, she needs you to be there. And I know most men, after playing Champions League with a lot of top clubs, you end up with your wife. You start comparing. You start comparing, like the man, the lady
who tested,
tested. During your prime years, you had a lot of women who, by your touching, they are already wet, and you found out that your wife, she had FGM and she's always dry. You need to be there for her. It's something that both of you we talk to, discuss about it. If possible, you meet a professional. We have professionals. They will counsel you about
sex
it.
Therapist.
She can still enjoy sex. You can still enjoy sex. Just be there for her. That's all.
Thank you so much for.
And please, the denigratory words of dry gin. I feel like we should try to not.
That was coming from a person that you have decided to do life with, and who once told you I love you. That's really sad. So, Oga, please, if you can hear us, Madam, I don't know, but I was hoping that you carry your listening device and put near his ear. Please. Just be patient with her while she tries to navigate through this journey. We've dropped helpful tips, so as much as you can, please just patiently go through them with her. All right. This is marriage, and you signed forever with this person. And it's part of the ups and downs that marriages come with. Nobody ever said marriage was going to be a walk in the park. Okay, so take a final words.
Okay, so for the ladies, we know the pain and trauma that comes with FGM, and just like I said earlier, it does not define your capacity to experience love, connection, or pleasure. And as a society, we have a collective responsibility to support these persons who have been victims on their journey while working tirelessly to actually end the practice of FGM in our various societies. So, to all victims and survivors, I'm rooting for you. And to the men, I'm rooting for you as well to do better. See you guys next week.
No final words from you.
Wednesday.
Ella. Okay. In as much as they've said it all, I feel like the first step for every lady that has gone through FGM is to keep an open mind. Like what Nelson said, what you have gone through, your experience does not make you who you are. It has happened. It has happened. Don't let it define the rest of your life. So keep an open mind. Try new things. Look for that spot by yourself. We've given tips. We've debunked myths. We've said a lot of things. You can replay what we said. Go through them, and move in that direction. And as a society, please, we should do better.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like the rhyme.
Thank you so much, guys.
Like
Thank you so much, guys, for doing this with me. Yeah. All right, beautiful people. This has been a beautiful episode of Lovey Dovey. It's been insightful. It's been informative. It's been educative. I do hope that you have learned everything. You've gathered your thoughts, put them together, and look, God will help you. Well, God or whatever. Anything else that you believe in, okay? We are religious in Nigeria after all. So yes, I'm going to make reference to God because we are religious. All right now, so please have fun. Enjoy the rest of your day. Lovey Dovey continues tonight. Yes, it's about 11:15 p.m. So make sure that you are here. Make sure that you are listening to Today 95.1 FM. Have a beautiful day, beautiful people.
Good morning. Bye.
Hands on each other, couldn't stand to be far apart. Closer the better. Now we're picking fights and slamming doors.